They called him the legendary assassin Gungnir, and where his name is spoken, chaos follows. A rumor that has reached the ears of a local gang leader. But he struggles to believe the stories, because the one responsible for the carnage is just a kid in a school uniform. The remaining men quickly surround him, but our boy just tightens his grip on his bag. After all, he doesn't want to be late for school, and with a flash of movement, he strikes. The gang leader can't believe his eyes. Our boy promises to make this quick, his own eyes glowing with a crimson light. The others raise their weapons, screaming in rage, but before they can even pull the trigger, he moves like a phantom, neutralizing them all. The leader, stunned by his speed, draws his own blade. He swings down with all his might, hoping a bigger weapon will solve the problem. It does not. With the blade still in the air, Gungnir is already behind him. The leader can barely process what's happening, as a single punch sends him flying across the room. He finally understands the terrifying truth. The rumors about Gungnir were all true, and with the job done, our boy straightens his uniform, but he corrects the fallen man's assumption. Because right now he's not an assassin. He's just a son living a normal life, and apparently a human-shaped chew toy for his sister. He reaches for the door, ready for his day, determined to protect this ordinary high school life. But the world he came from was anything but ordinary. A world collapsing under the weight of its own divisions. And in that chaos, one name was feared above all others. Gungnir, the Lord's Spear, a phantom of death. The strongest assassin to have ever lived. Elsewhere, at a lavish estate, a chairman is being alerted. His security team is, to put it mildly, freaking out. He learns that all his bodyguards were neutralized by just 2 people. The chairman screams for his men to protect him at all costs. But his words are cut short as a guard is instantly taken out. The man falls, leaving the chairman in utter disbelief. Down the hall, one of the intruders stands over the fallen. He calmly critiques their choice of weaponry, his crimson eye locking onto his true target, Chairman Akagi. The chairman recoils in absolute terror. He desperately orders his last 2 men to open fire. A brilliant plan if the assassins weren't already busy, because it seems they're now trying to kill each other. The assassins ignore the gunfire, locked in their own battle. A blinding flash fills the entire hallway, and in that moment, one of them neutralizes the last 2 guards. The guard is frozen in shock, unable to react. The blade finds its mark with terrifying speed. The chairman stares, a horrifying realization dawning on him. His eyes lock onto the blade's distinct engraving, 2 crows, and he screams the name associated with that symbol, Gungnir. The assassin, meanwhile, seems to be enjoying himself. The crimson-eyed man offers a simple, chilling explanation for their visit. He desperately begs for his life, promising them anything. But as he looks up, he doesn't see the man before him, but a different phantom whispering a name, Hayate. The second assassin finds this case of mistaken identity hilarious. He explains their visit is because the chairman stole from their boss. The chairman is stunned that his secret is out. His attacker just laughs, passing the question to his partner. The crimson-eyed man states they are merely weapons following Odin's orders. And with that, the chairman's time runs out. The shooter then complains to Hayate about not getting the final blow, but Hayate simply looks down at the fallen chairman. His expression is cold and distant. His gaze falls upon the man's shattered phone, which displays a happy memory of a father and daughter. He quietly makes a decision for himself. As he walks away from the bloody scene, he declares that this is his last day as a hitman. The scene shifts to a tall building under a full moon, and inside, a pot of stew simmers on a stove. A smiling woman adds the final ingredients to her meal. She happily prepares a meal she knows he'll love, glancing over at a cherished photo of them together. Just then, she hears the familiar sound of his return. Elsewhere, his partner celebrates their easy victory. He marvels at how Tuji handled the guards almost single-handedly. And we learn this man's true title, Gungnir, Lance Number 1. He was promised retirement if he completed this one last job. He thinks back on the absolute terror his name inspires. His partner cheerfully calls that fear a professional honor, because in the underworld, the name Gungnir is legendary. Hayate admits things will be lonely with Tuji retiring. Tuji can only agree as the light turns green. He explains that he's grown sick of this job. All he wants is to become a normal person. He can't do this kind of work anymore, not since meeting Mirai. He closes his eyes, a faint blush on his cheeks. He wonders if she's preparing dinner for him right now. He remembers her dream of them living together with their dog, John. A memory of a perfect day spent playing in the park. A simple, happy life he's determined to have. He remembers the warmth he feels with Mirai, a feeling he's never experienced before. His past was a nightmare of endless conflict. But Hayate brings him back to reality. questioning if a killer can ever truly be normal. Tuji, however, has his priorities straight. Beef stew, he clutches a bouquet of roses, announcing his plan to propose to Mirai tonight. He arrives at her apartment building, riding the elevator up. Stepping out onto the 30th floor, he's ready to go. He's determined that from this day forward, he'll be a normal person. His expression is firm, his resolve unshakable, though he admits this is more nerve-wracking than any mission. He reaches for the door, ready to change his life forever. But in an instant, his senses scream that something is wrong. He recognizes the faint metallic scent of blood. His mind flashes to Mirai, refusing to believe the worst. The hopeful fiancé is gone, replaced by the killer he tried to leave behind. He remembers her words, her dream of their life together, a life she wanted, even without knowing the truth about his work. He remembers her only wish, for him to finally be happy, a promise to always be by his side. He steels his resolve to start a new life with her. He bursts through the door, screaming her name, but he's not the only one in the apartment. And in an instant, his worst fears are realized. Tuji's entire world shatters. Mirai lies on the floor, gone forever, and their dog John right beside her. A familiar blade clatters onto the floor. He kneels over Mirai, his mind unable to accept the truth. His sorrow quickly boils over into pure rage as he looks up to see his own partner, Hayate, who greets him with a gun and a condescending smile. Hayate explains that he couldn't let Mirai steal Tuji away, because that's what friends are for, apparently. Tuji can only look up, tears streaming down his face. Hayate declares that their boss, Odin, will never let his spear go free, and with a single shot, he shatters what's left of Tuji's world. Tuji's vision blurs with tears and blood. Hayate laments that they're no longer partners, and with a final goodbye to Gungnir, he falls. As his life fades, Tuji realizes Hayate was right. It was foolish to believe he could ever be normal. He only succeeded in dragging Mirai into his world. He reaches out for her one last time. Convinced a killer like him never deserved to dream, the scene shifts to a hospital, where a young man jolts awake, screaming their names. He's completely disoriented, with no memory of how he got there. His first thought is a desperate need to get back to Mirai's apartment, but his mind is a whirlwind of confusion. He looks at his reflection, shocked by the unfamiliar face staring back. A doctor calls him by a different name, Fujiwara Kaido. He's told that all his medical tests show no issues. In fact, his recovery has been so good he can be discharged tomorrow. His mind flashes back to that night, the day he tried to quit and lost it all. He remembers the devastating scene he walked into, and the betrayal by his one and only friend, Hayate. With friends like these, who needs enemies? He finally understands. He died as Tuji and woke up as someone else entirely. Though his mind is a mess, he's managed to piece some things together. It all started 2 months ago. The original owner of this body, Fujiwara Kaito, was the victim of a brutal hit and run. He underwent emergency cranial surgery, and after a month in a coma, Tuji woke up in his place. Conveniently, the surgeon who performed it has already left the hospital. He recalls a voice he heard just before he died, a faint whisper in the darkness. It told him that the brain is safe. He tries to connect the dots. His brain was somehow saved, but he has no idea what happened after he died. The doctor tries to get his attention, but Tuji is lost in grief, crying out for Mirai. Suddenly, 2 strangers rush into the room, calling his new name. It's Kaido's mother, relieved that her son is finally back, and his father, a manga artist who's ready to take him home. As they leave, his new mother worries about his memory loss. His father, however, is optimistic that things will return to normal, but Tuji looks at his hands knowing Kaido isn't coming back. For now, no one suspects he's not Fujiwara Kaido. He believes this was all part of someone's plan, and has decided to play the part until they make contact. His new parents welcome him to their home. Apparently, being a normal kid comes with a nice house. He learns his father is a successful manga artist, and his mother is the daughter of a prominent doctor. She points him towards his new room upstairs. He cautiously opens the door, stepping into the life of a total stranger. He surveys the room of an ordinary high school student. He remembers the genuine love Kaido's parents showed him, a stark contrast to the life he once knew. He wonders if this is the normal happiness Mirai wanted for him. Looking at the photos, he sees a life filled with warmth, and he decides he doesn't want to bring these people any more pain. But as he looks closer, one photo catches his eye. It shows Kaido and his parents with an unfamiliar woman. He realizes he needs to learn more about the boy whose life he stole. As night falls over the city, the next morning, the doorbell rings. Elsewhere, a driver tries to get a young woman's attention. She turns, asking her driver what he wants. He questions her visit, but she storms off, insisting on seeing her childhood friend. Kaido's father opens the door, recognizing the visitor immediately. The girl, Yuzuha, greets him cheerfully, asking about Kaito. Tuji appears, realizing she's the woman from the photograph. She immediately rushes in, tackling him with a hug of relief. His new mother smiles, commenting on how close they still are. Toji quickly pieces it together. This is Kaido's very energetic childhood friend. Yuzuha insists on driving him to school, a gesture he awkwardly accepts. He notes her family must be even wealthier than the Fujiwaras. His new father tries to remind her about his amnesia, but Yuzuha just shoves Tuji into the car, promising to look after him. She announces a celebration for his recovery tonight, before telling his father to finish his work as they speed away, leaving Kaido's parents to watch them go. Meanwhile, at that very same school, a group of delinquents are finalizing their own plans for the evening. One of them gets nervous, realizing their target, Yuzuha, is the daughter of a powerful corporate president. The delinquent leader quickly tries to calm his nervous friend, but his lackeys are still frozen in fear. Just then, their leader spots something outside the window, a very expensive-looking limo belonging to Yuzuha's family, and stepping out with her is a boy he doesn't recognize. One of his men identifies him as Fujiwara Kaido, who's been absent for months. The leader, Tetsuya, gets a very unpleasant idea. Nothing good ever comes from that smile. Meanwhile, Yuzuha says goodbye to Tuji, promising to see him later. Tuji reflects on her kindness, wondering if this is what having a sister is like. Yuzuha then happily greets another friend in the hallway. Tuji steps into the classroom, his first time ever attending a normal school. He asks a nearby student where he's supposed to sit, but the student's friendly face contorts into one of pure terror as Tetsuya and his crew appear, telling Tuji he doesn't have a seat. The delinquent leader grabs his shoulder, inviting him to come with them. Tuji, still confused, follows them out of the room. They lead him all the way to the school rooftop. He's still wondering if his desk is up here. He remembers their smiles, thinking they were just being kind. But as their true colors show, he realizes these must be Kaido's enemies. One of the lackeys mockingly asks him about his missing seat. Tetsuya laughs, convinced that Kaido has gone crazy from fear. He drops his cigarette, grinding it out with his shoe. He offers a simple deal: bow down and take a few hits, as punishment for getting close to his Yuzuha. Tuji calmly questions his possessive claim over the girl. The delinquent leader smugly warns him to stay away from her. He leans in, threatening to harm Yuzuha if Tuji doesn't comply. Tuji's expression hardens, his suspicions finally confirmed. Tetsuya is confused by this sudden change in demeanor. Tuji explains that he doesn't want to hurt anyone with this body. Tetsuya's crew is enraged by his calm defiance. The delinquent leader grins, promising to end him right here. He lunges forward, throwing a wild punch, but Tuji remains perfectly still, waiting for the attack. His eyes are cold, analyzing every move. He instantly spots the fatal flaw in the bully's form. The attack is simply far too slow. Tetsuya can only gasp in pain as the counter lands. His lackeys stare in absolute disbelief. Tuji realizes this is what passes for a serious threat around here. A single punch connects with brutal efficiency. He follows up with a swift, effortless throw, slamming the delinquent leader onto the rooftop floor. Tetsuya can only stare blankly, his fight already over. Tuji considers how peaceful yet fragile this world is. But his thoughts are cut short by a scream from the doorway. Yuzuha's eyes widen, taking in the chaotic scene. He stands over the fallen bullies, a silent victor. He turns to face her, the bodies of her would-be attackers at his feet. She looks at him, struggling to recognize the boy she once knew. He looks back at her, his expression unreadable. She asks in disbelief if he was responsible for all this. Tuji quickly denies it, claiming he was just an innocent bystander. His lying skills are almost as good as his fighting skills. Yuzuha seems to accept his story, relieved. She insists that the Kaido she knows would never do such a thing. But then, her eyes catch a small damning detail. She points out the blood on his collar, thinking he's hurt. She grabs him, her concern overriding everything else. She begs him not to disappear on her again. Her words confuse Tuji, but he apologizes for worrying her. He assures her he's fine as they head back to class. But his eyes hold a coldness she doesn't recognize. Meanwhile, Tetsuya swears he'll make Kaido pay for this humiliation. Later that night, back at the Fujiwara residence, his new parents throw him a welcome home party. Tuji can only offer an awkward thank you. This is a bit more affection than he's used to. They've prepared a feast of all of Kaido's favorite foods. He sits between them, a stranger in a loving family, and a single dish triggers a painful memory. A vision of Mirai, happily sharing a meal with him. A memory of him enjoying her cooking, with Mirai promising to make it again. A simple, happy moment he took for granted. He remembers asking her a simple question. wondering if this warmth is what a real family feels like. And now, sitting with the Fujiwaras, he thinks he understands. His new parents worry that Yuzuha is late for the party. They mention she's been through a lot herself, despite her cheerful act. Tuji listens, a strange feeling of unease washing over him, a familiar instinct he can't quite place. Just then, his phone buzzes with an unexpected notification. It's an incoming call from Yuzuha right on time. He answers, but a man's voice asks if he's Fujiwara. The caller seems pleased that he's found the right person. It's Tetsuya, the delinquent from the rooftop, clearly holding a grudge. He smugly orders Tuji to come alone to a specific location. And if he even thinks about calling for help, his childhood friend will pay the price. Looks like the welcome back party is officially canceled. He hears Yuzuha's voice in the background, telling him not to come. After a sharp sound silences her, Tuji calmly asks where he needs to go. The delinquent gives him the address to an old factory. Tuji calmly lowers his phone, the call now over. His father asks if it was Yuzuha, but Tuji lies, saying it was another friend. He claims they want to give him a discharge gift, much to his parents' surprise. He puts on a reassuring smile, promising he'll be back soon. The scene shifts to an abandoned factory somewhere in Tokyo. Classic. Inside, Tetsuya and his crew are waiting for their target to arrive. But it seems the delinquent leader isn't the one calling the shots. A man in a suit questions Tetsuya's decision to make that call. He throws a lighter, striking the delinquent in the head for his insolence. The man scolds him for acting on his own, with Yuzuha tied up in the background. The man in the suit reminds Tetsuya of their real objective: to make Yuzuha reveal the location of her father's hidden assets. But she's not talking, and Tetsuya's impatience is showing. He explains that's why he called Tuji to the factory. His plan is to hurt her childhood friend in front of her until she breaks. He's desperate for this to work, as it's his ticket into their organization. Because threatening loved ones is peak criminal innovation. The man in the suit agrees, but with a heavy condition. He turns to a massive figure in the corner, a man named Inogami. He warns that if the plan fails, their new guest will have to die. But it seems their guest has already arrived, making a rather dramatic entrance through the wall. Inogami declares that taking care of their guest is his job. Tetsuya can only stare, completely intimidated by the giant. Meanwhile, Yuzuha screams at her captors in defiance. Her driver begs her to stay quiet, not wanting to anger them further. He tries to reassure her that help is on the way, but his words are cut short. Tetsuya delivers a vicious kick, silencing the man for good. He roars at the driver to stay out of his way. Yuzuha can only scream as they drag her driver away. Tetsuya then turns his attention back to her, demanding she talk. But she remains defiant, threatening to end things herself. Tetsuya grits his teeth, sweating with frustration. He's ordered to bring Tuji to his boss as soon as he arrives. They've brought an army of 40 thugs and a monster named Inogami. Tetsuya's plan is simple. Let the monster kill Tuji to break Yuzuha. But their target is already making his way inside. Meanwhile, the factory's low-level security detail is busy bragging. They turn to find Tuji approaching under a blood-red moon. The thugs surround him, quickly realizing who he is. Tuji simply clenches his fist, ready for what's next. And in a flash, he neutralizes them all without breaking a sweat. Each strike is precise, disabling them in an instant. The remaining thugs can only stare in utter shock. Tuji stands over the fallen, barely even warmed up. Enraged, the last two charge forward, screaming threats. But their attacks are easily deflected by the former assassin. He moves through them like a ghost, breaking weapons and wills. One of them ends up headfirst in a trash can. Tuji offers a simple warning to anyone else who might be listening. Meanwhile, inside the factory, the man in the suit lights a cigarette. He casually asks when their target is supposed to arrive. One of the thugs reports that their target is just a kid. But a flashback shows this is no ordinary kid. He frantically warns his boss that something is very wrong. Just then, another goon spots Tuji at the entrance. Inside, Yuzuha can only listen, blindfolded and helpless. Tetsuya gets the call, his face pale with fear, because their guest has already made his grand entrance. He moves through the crowd with brutal, practiced ease, a sight that brings a twisted smile to Inogami's face. Tuji reminds the fallen thug that he was given a choice. He admits that defeating them without killing is surprisingly tiring. The man in the suit can't believe what he's hearing. He wonders if this one kid took down all 20 of his men. Tuji ignores them, his only concern being Yuzuha's location. He hears her voice, screaming for him to run away, but her cries only help him pinpoint her exact location. He calculates the distance, impressed by her spirit even now. He assesses the 30 enemies ahead, giving himself less than a minute. And with the clock ticking, he begins his assault. He moves like a blur of red light, cutting through their ranks. The thugs can only stare in disbelief. as a red phantom cuts through their ranks. One of them scrambles back in pure terror, realizing they've picked a fight with a monster. A little late for that, buddy. But before he can run, Tuji is already on him. He lifts the man with one hand, promising to make this hurt just a little. He unleashes a flurry of precise, disabling blows, each strike landing with devastating impact. He holds the terrified man by the throat, his message clear. He sends the last man flying with a single toss. The man in the suit screams at his terrified men to fight. Tetsuya finally understands that this isn't just some kid but a monster. Hearing the commotion, Yuzuha calls out Kaido's name, and Tuji appears before her, confirming he's there. He moves to untie her, but his senses flare with warning as the giant Inogami lunges forward with a furious roar. His fist smashes into the ground where Tuji just stood. Yuzuha screams his name, terrified for his safety. The man in the suit gloats that they have a monster of their own, because bringing a giant to a kid fight is totally fair. He calmly reassures Yuzuha that everything will be fine, but his kick barely seems to register on the giant's massive frame. Inogami just grins, declaring that this is his job. He swings down with a furious punch, vowing to end him. But Tuji meets the attack head-on with a counter of his own. The giant's nose bleeds, but he laughs at how weak the blow felt. This guy's pain tolerance is just a little bit off the charts. Tuji quickly assesses the situation, realizing this is their ace. He knows Kaido's body is too weak to win with brute force, so if a direct attack won't work, he'll have to find another way to bring the giant down. He slips outside the giant's awareness, his eyes analyzing the man's internal structure for a weak point. He unleashes a flurry of continuous attacks, concentrating all his force on a single vital spot. The giant can only scream as the precise strikes shatter his defenses, and with a final shuddering gasp, the monster collapses. The remaining thugs can only stare in absolute horror. Tuji calmly counts the 6 men left standing. The man in the suit screams for his men to get out of his way as they flee. Guess the payday wasn't worth it after all. Tuji decides against pursuing them, knowing his real priority is right here. He gently tells her that it's okay to open her eyes. She slowly looks up, whispering Kaido's name. He puts on a bright smile, relieved that she's unharmed. He explains that the thugs have fled and her driver will be fine. But Yuzuha is still trembling from the entire ordeal. He understands her fear, knowing this is too much for a normal girl. But her reaction is not what he expected. She grabs him by the tie, her fear turning into frustration. She demands to know why he didn't call the police, worried sick about him. She finally thanks him, begging him never to make her worry like that again. Her relief quickly gives way to tears of fear and worry. Tuji watches her, his own expression unreadable. Her words remind him of Mirai, who always worried he would disappear. He calmly straightens his tie, a gentle smile on his face. He kneels before her, promising that it's all over now, and he makes a silent vow to protect the people Kaido held dear. Yuzuha can only stare, completely stunned by his words. Even the defeated bully on the floor can't believe this is the same Kaido. Tuji notes that the police have arrived, a perfect cue to leave. He turns with a warm smile, telling her it's time to go home. The man in the suit frantically reports his failure over the phone, but his boss has heard enough, revealing a lance is already on the way. The man freezes, the name striking fear into his heart. His boss declares that anyone who interferes with their mission will be eliminated. The next day, the news reports on the factory incident, with dozens arrested. Tuji lies in bed, seemingly resting after the chaotic night, but his eyes snap open, his mind already working, while his new parents sleep soundly, unaware of the danger. Tuji slips out of the house knowing he has to be more careful. He remembers their panicked reaction after the police called, a memory he doesn't want to repeat. He thinks back on the thugs from the factory, wondering why they needed so many men just to kidnap Yuzuha. He recalls that their leader, Suo, has vanished without a trace, and a bad feeling tells him something far more dangerous is coming. His hand brushes against the faint scar on Kaido's head. He's determined not to bring any more pain to the people around him, and to do that, he knows there's only one thing he can do. Suddenly, a figure in a white hoodie appears before him. He instinctively leaps back as an attack strikes where he just stood, and 3 throwing knives whistle past him through the night air. The attacker seems impressed that his target dodged the ambush. Tuji reveals he knew he was being followed, leading him to this empty street. He turns to face his pursuer, demanding to know what he wants. The man looks down from his perch on a lamppost. He admits he's surprised to be found, boasting about his skills in stealth. He grins, realizing the rumors about an ordinary kid were far from the truth. He can sense the difference in Tuji's training, a killer's presence. He concludes that Tuji is from the underworld just like him. The attacker finds it interesting that Tuji's question implies they're equals. But Tuji sticks to his story. claiming he's just a normal high school student. Sure you are, buddy. The attacker decides he's done talking, drawing his twin blades. And Tuji's instincts scream a familiar, deadly warning. The man introduces himself as Sanju, Lance number 67, and promises Tuji will die here. Tuji realizes he's facing a member of his old organization, Great Will. Elsewhere, a white-haired man is furious with his subordinates. He can't believe they failed to find the treasure, even after kidnapping the girl. A pink-haired associate suggests they should have sent a lance from the start. We learn of the Great Will organization, a force of over 1,000 assassins. Among them, the top 100 are given the elite title of Lance. Another Lance, Minam, dismisses the girl as a mere amateur. The treasure thereafter is powerful enough to change the world. Fenrir's seed. The leader admits he sent Sanju, despite the intel being unconfirmed. Minam questions this, as deploying a lance requires Odin's approval. But the leader, Yashima, confirms he already has it. He explains the incident was too suspicious to ignore, and as a lance himself, he will eliminate anyone who stands in their way. Back on the street, Tuji prepares for a fight. He knows this man is an assassin from his old organization. His opponent's posture is flawless, a true professional killer. Tuji realizes his bad feeling was right, and the timing of this attack is no coincidence. He realizes Yuzuha's kidnapping was backed by Great Will, making this far more than a simple shakedown. Sanju smirks, pointing out that normal kids usually flinch at knives. But Tuji's eyes harden, seeing only a threat to Yuzuha's safety. A threat that needs to be eliminated right here and now. He explodes forward, unleashing a flurry of precise strikes. Sanju is shocked by his speed and ruthless accuracy. He recognizes the movements of a trained killer. But Tuji isn't giving him time to think. He deflects the assassin's counter with a hardened forearm, forcing the two combatants to briefly separate. Tuji analyzes his opponent, realizing the man's long limbs give him a deceptive reach. Sanju smirks, impressed that Tuji dodged his initial attack. He decides to stop playing around, leaping forward with both blades. A flurry of attacks rains down on our boy, a whirlwind of steel and fury. The assassin laughs, enjoying the challenge his target is putting up. But he still mocks Tuji's ordinary student act, convinced of his own superior power. The two combatants move across the street in a deadly dance. Tuji manages to deflect another strike, the impact rattling his arm. The assassin sees an opening, believing he's finally found a way to end this. He lunges forward, only to strike the lamppost Tuji used as a decoy. Guess he fell for the oldest trick in the book. But Tuji's eyes flash with a sudden realization. He slips out of his jacket, using it as a last-second decoy, and counters with a precise strike aimed at the assassin's throat. Sanju can't believe his attack was completely evaded. But Tuji's counter finds its mark, drawing first blood. The two separate, with Sanju now holding a very fashionable trophy. The assassin realizes this is no ordinary high school kid, and Tuji understands the painful physical limits of Kaito's body. Sanju questions if the entire chase was just an elaborate trap. He notes Tuji's professional tactics and unsettling killing intent. Sanju admits his orders to eliminate a student seemed strange at first, but now he understands why the organization sees Tuji as a future threat. Tuji confirms his worst fears. This assassin is definitely from Great Will. Sanju decides it's time to get serious, switching to his true combat mode. He unleashes his full power, calling himself the tip of God's killing intent. Someone's a little dramatic. Tuji is taken aback by the sudden surge of energy. The assassin unleashes a special technique, the Twin Dragon dance style. A whirlwind of blades descends upon Tuji with blinding speed, but our boy dodges just in time, the attack shredding a tree behind him, and for a moment the night is still under the full moon. Sanju notices a sudden shift in Tuji's movements, and Tuji realizes this power is far beyond a normal assassin. Sanju unleashes a furious spinning attack, aiming to destroy his cover. His blades slice clean through the concrete fountain, sending a geyser of water shooting into the night sky. But as the water rains down, he sees Tuji is already gone. Tuji clutches his wounded arm, confirming his fears. This is a lance. Sanju laughs maniacally, annoyed that Tuji made him work for it. He taunts our boy, daring him to fight back, and asks if a killer like him can really protect anyone. The assassin's words send Tuji flying back, as a horrifying memory floods his mind, a memory of the night he lost everything. The woman he failed to protect, Mirai. A future stolen from him in an instant. That memory ignites a fire within him, and the killer he tried to bury is unleashed. The assassin swings down with a triumphant roar, only for his attack to be stopped cold. Tuji catches the blade, his eyes burning with a promise of pain. He twists the blade back, using the assassin's own weapon against him. Sanju can only stare in disbelief at the sudden reversal. Tuji uses the man's own momentum to throw him off balance. He plants his foot, channeling all his power into a single point, and unleashes a devastating kick that sends the assassin flying. The blow lands with brutal force, leaving Sanju stunned. Guess he didn't see that coming. The lance can't comprehend who he's truly fighting. Tuji stands under the red moon, his resolve now clear. He will never again feel the regret of failing to protect someone. And this time, he will make sure Yuzuha is safe. He vows that this time, he won't let anyone touch Yuzuha. The assassin just laughs, pleased that Tuji is finally getting serious. But he's still convinced that our boy is going to die here. Because he believes the will of his organization is absolute, he unleashes another furious storm of slashes. But he's stunned to find that none of his attacks are connecting. Tuji is somehow deflecting every single blow, his body moving with impossible speed and precision. The assassin screams in frustration, accusing him of just running away. He lunges forward, ready to end this little game of tag. But Tuji is already behind him, silencing his taunts with a cold grip. The assassin's eyes widen in pure, unadulterated shock, as Tuji lands a clean strike with the man's own blade. Sanju can't comprehend this sudden change in speed and power. He unleashes another flurry, but Tuji parries every single blow. Our boy admits he's grown tired of these predictable moves. He plants the blade firmly into the ground, declaring this is the end of their little dance. The assassin grits his teeth, preparing for whatever comes next. But Tuji is already behind him, his eyes glowing in the dark. He unleashes a final devastating kick against the full moon. And with glowing red eyes, he declares this fight is over. Sanju can't process what's happening, his mind reeling from the divine speed. He realizes this barrage of attacks is just like the legendary style of the 12 God Spears. A final, precise strike finds its mark with brutal efficiency. The lance finally understands he was never in the same league. And with one last swing, Tuji ends the assassin's hunt for good. Sanju collapses to the ground, his mission a catastrophic failure. He can only stare in disbelief as his life fades away. The assassin realizes he can't move his arms. As Tuji explains, he's left one leg intact. A real humanitarian. He declares that Sanju will never kill again. The defeated lance can only ask why. Tuji explains that the life of a hitman only leads to loss. A painful memory of Mirai flashes through his mind. He offers a simple choice. Answer his questions, or lose more than just a career. He demands to know who gave the order, and why they're after Yuzuha. But the defeated assassin just starts to laugh. He finally understands he's being kept alive for information. He declares that he will never betray the God he believes in. His loyalty is absolute, bordering on pure fanaticism. The word God triggers a dark realization for Tuji. He remembers his own past, a life defined by violence. The assassin points out that the police are on their way. Guess property damage has consequences. Tuji realizes their time here is running out. The defeated lance tells him to run as well. He asks if Tuji truly wants to keep playing the part of a normal student. The question hits a little too close to home. A memory of Hayate's words echoes in his mind. A question that has haunted him since the day he died. Can a killer ever truly be a normal high school student? Elsewhere in a high-rise overlooking the city, news of Sanju's defeat has arrived. A woman with long green hair confirms the report to her superiors. She calmly states that Lance number 67 is officially out of commission. Her pink-haired associate is thrilled by the news, wondering about their mysterious foe. He's practically begging for a chance to face this new challenge himself. The woman agrees their target is interesting, revealing Sanju's last report. Before he passed out, the defeated Lance described his opponent's fighting style. With a single legendary name, Gungnir. The name sends a shockwave through the room. Minam scoffs, finding the claim that this kid is the world's strongest ridiculous. The woman teases him, questioning his sudden disbelief. He insists that it's impossible for anyone to be like the original Tuji. But Yashima admits their plans have been completely derailed with one lance lost. His associate agrees they can no longer ignore this threat. The name of the dead assassin Gungnir has somehow returned, and he wonders just who this Fujiwara Kaido really is. Back in his room, Tuji tends to his wounds from the fight. The ordinary high school student Fujiwara Kaido? Yeah, right. He looks at his reflection, accepting his new identity. He knows that as long as Yuzuha is a target, he can't stand by. He clenches his fist, realizing this body is too weak for the fights ahead, and he's determined not to lose this ordinary life a second time. Back at Great Will, Minam volunteers for the next mission, a suggestion that catches Yashima by surprise. The green-haired woman seems pleased by his initiative. Minam vows to find the treasure and eliminate this new threat himself. His target, the boy known as Fujiwara Kaito, a boy who just wants to protect his new family. The next day, Tuji is forced to endure another welcome home party. His new father proudly presents his special omelet rice. It's a work of art. But Yuzuha quickly steps in, taking over the cooking herself. She places a steaming bowl in front of him, and his heart stops when he sees what it is: beef stew. She proudly declares it's her specialty, urging him to eat. He takes a single hesitant bite, and in an instant, his mind is flooded with memories. A memory of Mirai asking if he'd be home for dinner, a promise he made while on just another errand for work. A memory of her teasing him about how much he loved her cooking. He remembers calling out to her just before he left for his final mission. A nervous promise that he had something important to tell her that night, and her warm smile as she agreed to wait for his return. The day he vowed to quit being a hitman for good, a future with her that was stolen away in an instant. Yuzuha's voice pulls him back, asking if her cooking is really that bad. But Tuji can only hunch over the bowl, completely overwhelmed. He whispers that it's delicious, the words catching in his throat. Yuzuha breathes a sigh of relief, completely oblivious to the storm inside him. His new mother is just happy to see him eating so well, while his father gets a culinary brain blast. The party continues with cake, laughter, and some questionable cooking techniques. And for the first time, Tuji offers a genuine, heartfelt thank you. Later that night, he insists on walking Yuzuha home. He asks if she's noticed anything strange, learning her house is now under police guard. She explains she ditched her overprotective driver for the night. She stretches, admitting how much fun she had. A memory of the party shows a moment of pure, uncomplicated joy, a joy she hasn't felt since her father passed away. Tuji is taken aback by the mention of her father. She apologizes for not telling him sooner, not wanting to burden him while he had amnesia. She reveals her father passed away 2 months ago, around the time of his accident. Tuji finally understands the weight she's been carrying. It explains her panic on the rooftop that day, the fear of losing him just as she lost her dad. He realizes she's been putting on a brave face this whole time, a skill he knows a thing or two about. He apologizes for all the worry he's caused, but she insists he has nothing to be sorry for. She reminds him that he came to save her all alone, and now she's asking the one question he can't answer. He tries to play it off, claiming they all just ran away, a story that doesn't quite line up with the facts. His poker face needs some work, but she decides to let it go for now. Because what truly matters is that he was there for her. She offers a shy, heartfelt thank you for his bravery, and he promises to save her as many times as it takes. A promise that leaves her completely flustered. She quickly recovers, pulling him in for a hug. She snaps a quick selfie to commemorate the moment, and proudly declares it her new wallpaper, much to Tuji's concern. But he realizes this might be a good thing for both of them. She explains that seeing him worry about her, despite his own horrific accident, has inspired her to finally start moving forward herself. Tuji looks at her, a new understanding dawning in his eyes. He sees a reflection of his own pain, his own loss in her, and he quietly agrees with her resolve. A new vow forms in his heart, to protect this girl no matter what. As Yuzuha finally changes her wallpaper, saying a quiet goodbye to her father. But as he looks at the photo, his eyes widen in shock. He asks if the man in the picture is her father. Yuzuha confirms it, teasing him about his memory loss. She admits her father had enemies, but was always kind to Kaido, a cherished memory of a happy day with her beloved dad. But Tuji's mind is racing because he recognizes that man. In fact, he knows him all too well. He's seen that exact photo before on his last mission, lying next to the body of the man he just eliminated. Well, this is awkward. The one who killed Yuzuha's father was him. A memory of his past self, the killer known as Gungnir, and the horrifying realization that the one responsible was him. Yuzuha's voice pulls him back, asking why he's suddenly so quiet. Because he now knows her full name, Akagi Yuzuha, daughter of the man he killed. Back in his room, the weight of his actions finally crashes down on him. He tries to rationalize it, blaming Hayate for the final blow. A classic "it was my co-worker" defense. But he knows that's just an excuse, as he felt nothing for the man who betrayed his organization. He clenches his fist, wondering if he should tell her the truth about the danger she's in, but he knows there's no way he could ever confess his role in it. He's trapped, with no idea what he's supposed to do now. The next morning, back at school, a new rumor is already spreading. The class buzzes about a transfer student, but Tuji is lost in his own thoughts. He knows defeating one Lance won't stop Great Will from coming after Yuzuha, and he's decided the only way to protect her is to stay as close as possible. Just then, the teacher confirms the rumors, announcing a new friend will be joining them. A voice from the hallway asks if it's okay to come in now, and Tuji freezes, a jolt of recognition running through him. His mind screams in denial, refusing to believe it could be true. The other students are already excited by the newcomer's appearance. Guess they don't have a killer's intuition. But Tuji can only stare in absolute horror, his past catching up to him once again. The new student cheerfully introduces himself as Amagasa Mikoto. He offers a bright smile, asking everyone to get along. But Tuji recognizes him instantly, wondering why this assassin is at his school. He remembers the fanatic loyalty of the last lance he fought, and realizes Great Will has sent one of the 12 God Spears after them. The transfer student's friendly eyes hide a killer's intent. He internally confirms his target has been found, Fujiwara Kaido. Tuji can only sweat, his worst nightmare now sitting in his class. Elsewhere on campus, the new student is already a huge hit. He effortlessly dominates a game of basketball, the perfect popular kid. The students are in awe of his athletic skill. Tuji can only watch as the assassin becomes an instant celebrity, but he knows this is just an act, wondering when the new guy will finally make his move. He recalls the structure of Great Will, ruled by a man known only as Odin. And at the very top of its hierarchy are the 12 Lord Spears, a group of elite killers with power that could rival an entire army. The fact that one of them is here proves just how serious the organization is about Yuzuha. His mind flashes back to the man he killed, the mission that started all of this. He knows they're after the treasure her father supposedly stole, and he questions if he can truly protect Yuzuha and the other students from a threat this powerful. He knows that in Kaido's current body, he stands no chance against a Lord Spear. The assassin, meanwhile, continues his popular kid act. Tuji decides to stay on high alert, knowing the act won't last, but his thoughts are interrupted by a familiar voice. Yuzuha appears, asking if he's free after school. He quickly tries to turn her down, insisting she go straight home. But a hand suddenly lands on his shoulder. It's Amagasa, introducing himself directly to Yuzuha, and Tuji's fears are confirmed. The assassin's true target is her. He introduces himself with a smile as Yuzuha recognizes the rumors. She asks how he knows her name, assuming Tuji told him. But Amagasa explains that she's famous as the heir to the Akagi group, a fact that clearly makes her uncomfortable. She stammers, unsure how to respond to the sudden attention. He presses his advantage, asking to speak with her after school, but another student interrupts, claiming Amagasa hurt his finger. A classic. Tuji watches the scene unfold, his suspicion growing, and for a brief moment, the assassin's friendly mask slips. He waves a cheerful goodbye, leaving Yuzuha completely confused. Yuzuha thanks him for protecting her yet again. Later, Amagasa finds Tuji alone on the school rooftop. He corners our boy, asking about his intentions with Yuzuha. Tuji just stares back, completely unimpressed. The assassin quickly laughs it off as a joke. He admits he's taken a liking to Yuzuha, mentioning her father. Guess creepy is the new charming. Tuji cuts straight to the point, demanding to know his purpose. He asks if this is revenge for the assassin he neutralized. Amagasa confirms it, impressed that a student could beat a lance so easily. Tuji's resolve hardens as he asks one more time why they're after Yuzuha. Amagasa reveals they're after the treasure Yuzuha inherited, a fact that Tuji seems to have already suspected. The assassin admits they don't know what it is and makes a proposal. He offers Tuji a chance to join their organization as a comrade. Tuji is stunned as Amagasa points out he's already proven his strength. He promises money, missions, and a chance to get Yuzuha to talk. What a generous benefits package. But his friendly mask drops, revealing the threat underneath. He warns that if Tuji continues to resist uselessly, it won't just be his life on the line, but everyone in this school. And with that, Tuji explodes forward, his patience finally gone. Amagasa is impressed by his target's incredible speed, but Tuji lands a clean strike, breaking through his defense. He reveals a small device he snatched during the exchange, recognizing the man's fighting style and his codename, Bident. The assassin is stunned that this kid knows his true identity. An explosion forces the two combatants apart. Amagasa realizes this is no ordinary student and decides it's time to stop holding back. He unleashes his entire arsenal of explosives at once. Tuji dodges the barrage as the assassin prepares his next wave. The blast sends Tuji flying off the rooftop, but even in midair, he kicks the devices away. He manages to catch the remaining explosives, landing back on the roof with a sigh of relief. Amagasa is impressed by his incredible agility, but he warns that this skill won't be enough to save everyone. Tuji hurls the explosives back at the assassin, but Amagasa has already trapped him by the window, snapping his fingers to trigger the device below, and a massive explosion erupts in the schoolyard. Tuji shields his face from the force of the blast. As students panic below, Amagasa explains the explosion was a service. How thoughtful. Tuji glares back, his fury barely contained. The assassin presents his offer one last time. Join them, or else. But Tuji's eyes show nothing but defiance. He declares that he is just a student protecting Yuzuha, and that he will never become their comrade. Amagasa calls it a shame, wondering if people have to die for him to understand. He then calls him by a legendary name, Gungnir. But Tuji's response makes him whip around in shock. He calmly corrects him, stating that was his former name. Amagasa explodes in rage, warning him not to speak that name. He screams that Tuji has no right to even mention the legend. Tuji explains he only said it to avoid a fight, leaving the assassin stunned. The assassin quickly drops the act, pretending to check for students. He gives Tuji an ultimatum: join them within 3 days. And if he refuses, he'll pay for impersonating a legend. With that, the assassin leaps away, leaving Tuji alone on the roof. The school is left scarred by the assassin's warning. Down below, Yuzuha offers him a ride, but Tuji has other plans. He warns Yuzuha to stay home, reminding her of the recent dangers. She agrees with a smile, thanking him for his concern. Her driver enthusiastically agrees with Tuji's assessment. He vows to protect her, boasting about his 1 day of martial arts training. Yuzuha just rolls with his intense loyalty. She waves goodbye, telling him not to worry so much. Tuji watches as her car speeds away down the street. He stands alone, the weight of his promise settling on him, and his expression hardens, the killer's instinct returning, because he knows this fight is far from over. Amagasa watches from the roof with a knowing smirk. He vows that no one will tarnish the name of Gungnir. Meanwhile, Tuji rides the train, his mind racing. He hopes his claim has drawn the assassin's attention away from Yuzuha, but he knows his opponent is the youngest of the 12 Lord Spears. And while he's grown used to Kaido's body, he's nowhere near ready to face a threat of that level in just 3 days. He desperately wonders how he can protect everyone. His thoughts turn to a dark, familiar path, and he realizes he has no choice but to do what's necessary. He knows he has to kill the assassin, even if it means mutual destruction. The train's announcement pulls him from his thoughts. He's arrived in Shibuya. He walks through the bustling city streets, lost in the crowd. He wonders why he's avoided this place for so long. But today, his heart led him here on its own. A memory of the day he and Mirai died. To the very place where their lives were stolen. He questions the point of returning to this painful memory. After all, Mirai isn't here anymore. He reaches for the door of his old apartment. He's surprised to find it completely vacant. His mind races, wondering if this is a trap. But as he peeks inside, a strange nostalgia hits him. He can't understand what's happening. Stepping inside, he sees that nothing has changed. The scene of the crime has been cleaned, but the home is perfectly preserved. He wonders who would go to such lengths. Suddenly, his instincts scream a warning. He realizes it was a trap, after all, as someone approaches. But the figure that greets him is not an assassin, but a very familiar 4-legged friend. A happy bark echoes through the empty apartment. Tuji can only stare, whispering the name he thought he'd lost forever. John. The dog runs to him, frisbee in mouth, as if no time has passed at all. Tears stream down his face, his composure completely shattered. He collapses to his knees, hugging the dog he thought was gone. As John licks away his tears, his eyes fall on the familiar frisbee, a memory of a perfect day, playing by the river with Mirai. He asks if John can still recognize him, even in this stranger's body. And in that moment, a single spark of hope ignites in the darkness. But John isn't barking at him, but at a stranger in the doorway. Tuji looks at the photo, his mind lost in the past. He remembers Mirai's dream for their future, a simple life for the 3 of them. He recalls her talking about his mysterious work, how all she ever wanted was for him to be happy, and his own vow to protect her, even if it meant his life. A promise she found a bit too dramatic for a Tuesday. He remembers her final wish for him as they drove, that he would live the life he desired no matter what. Tears stream down his face, a torrent of grief. He whispers her name, convinced he failed to make her happy. And with John by his side, he leaves the painful memory behind. But the time he spent with her will always be a part of him. He returns to his new home, a plan already forming. He asks if they can keep John using a convenient excuse. And his new parents, bless their hearts, agree almost instantly. His new mother then asks for the dog's name. He tells them it's John, a name given by his previous owners. A silent tribute to the family that once was a... Later that night, Yuzuha checks in on him via text. She's excited to meet John, but Tuji quickly shuts down her impromptu visit. But a confident smile plays on his lips, because he's already made his decision. Elsewhere, the assassin Amagasa takes a call from his private jet. He asks if Tuji is ready to accept his offer. Guess the 3-day deadline was more of a suggestion. Standing on a rooftop, Tuji confirms that he is, but he refuses to play by their rules, vowing to make the first move. He sets the time and place for their final battle, the school rooftop before dawn, and declares that the one who will defeat him is the legendary Gungnir. Amagasa's eyes burn with pure, unadulterated rage. He crushes his phone in his hand, his fury boiling over. He can't believe this kid, Fujiwara Kaido, would dare use that name again. Because to him, the original Tuji was a perfect assassin, an untouchable legend. His mind flashes back 3 years, to a mission in the Middle East, a memory of a younger him, wounded and surrounded by the fallen. He remembers apologizing to Tuji, convinced his life was over, as an entire enemy platoon swarmed his position. They had him cornered, ready to avenge their fallen comrades. And with their guns aimed, they were ready to end his life. But in that moment, Tuji appeared, a phantom of red light cutting through the chaos. He told the younger assassin he'd handle the rest, ordering him to stay alive. He then turned to face the enemy army, calling Amagasa by his real name, Akatsuki. The young assassin could only stare, completely in awe of the legend he served. The memory fades as the sun rises on the present day, on the school rooftop. Tuji steps out, ready for the promised duel. Amagasa is already waiting, questioning his choice to fight in a school uniform. Tuji's expression is firm, his answer simple. He plans to defeat the assassin and then attend class like a normal student. Guess he's got a busy schedule. Amagasa just laughs, revealing he had the exact same idea. Amagasa explains he's been thinking about their last encounter. He admits that while Tuji's power is weak, his movements were eerily similar to the legendary Gungnir. And because he idolized the original, he can't forgive this impersonation. His eyes burn with rage as he vows to eliminate Tuji for daring to tarnish that name. Tuji just listens, his own expression unreadable. But Amagasa has one more trick up his sleeve. He's planted bombs all over the school. Of course he did. He reveals a prosthetic hand linked directly to his brain, allowing him to detonate them at will. He warns that if Tuji loses, everyone he's trying to protect will be gone. He then explains there's only one way to stop him, either by ending his life or just knocking him out. But Tuji calmly confirms he understands the stakes. He declares that he didn't come here to kill, but to stop the assassin once and for all. Amagasa just offers a condescending grin. He questions if a weakling like him can even manage that. And with a small explosion, the fight begins. The assassin lunges forward with a furious roar. Tuji knows this body is weaker, but he has one advantage: experience. He knows Akatsuki's patterns, his every opening move, and as the explosives fly, he's already one step ahead. He uses the explosives to create a blinding green flash, a simple flashbang to disorient his opponent. While the real attack comes from the other side, Tuji's fist connects with a brutal left hook, a strike aimed directly at the assassin's ribs. The blow sends Amagasa flying across the rooftop. Tuji's eyes reflect the cold, calculated strike. The assassin uses another blast to soften his landing. Guess he always makes an explosive exit. Amagasa is impressed, admitting the blow would have been devastating. He taunts our boy, demanding to see the power of the real Gungnir. Amagasa admits that Tuji is strong, but warns him that knowledge alone won't defeat a Lord Spear. Tuji looks down, his expression unreadable. He knows that as a former hitman, he can never truly have the happiness Mirai wanted for him, but he will live on, determined to find meaning in this second chance. And with that resolve, his eyes burn with a familiar crimson light. He will face any opponent, and he will win without killing again. He's fighting for the people who cared about him in both his lives, for the sake of Tuji and for the sake of Kaido. He unleashes a furious kick, meeting the assassin head-on. The blow lands with stunning force, leaving Amagasa completely shocked. The blow sends Amagasa's mind reeling, his head throbbing in pain, but he quickly snaps back, roaring at Tuji for hesitating. He unleashes a furious barrage of attacks, a storm of purple light. Tuji struggles to deflect the blows, forced to read deeper into his opponent's movements. He analyzes every detail: the breathing, the footwork, the shifting center of gravity, and he meets the next kick head-on, a perfect block. But the force sends him flying back across the roof. A distance Amagasa is more than happy to exploit, dropping another explosive. Tuji can only brace for the inevitable impact, and the rooftop is consumed by a blinding, fiery blast. Tuji braces himself, knowing Akatsuki will move in for the finish. He focuses, reading every bit of information his opponent gives off. And as the assassin lunges forward, a memory of the surgery flashes through his mind. His eyes glow with a new, brilliant blue light. A blinding flash erupts between them. Amagasa can only stare in disbelief, because Tuji is now standing over him, completely unharmed. He grabs the assassin, feeling the rage and killing intent. But he declares that his own will is far stronger. He declares that he will swallow the assassin's anger whole. He can feel every ounce of Akatsuki's rage and killing intent. But he knows that his own will is far stronger, and he will absorb it all, turning it into his own strength. The assassin can only stare, completely caught off guard, as Tuji sends him flying with a single powerful throw. But this new power comes at a cost, as Tuji clutches his head in pain. He can see everything, even the assassin's will flowing into his mind. Amagasa is completely baffled by this sudden change in the fight. He can't understand how Tuji knew exactly where he would strike. Amagasa finds this new development very interesting. He pulls out another one of his signature explosives. He doesn't care what Tuji sees, preparing a fiery attack. He vows to overcome it with his own overwhelming power. Tuji braces himself, knowing the real fight is just beginning. The assassin unleashes his ultimate technique, a meteor flame dance. Someone's been reading too many manga. He moves like a comet, a whirlwind of fire and fury. The rooftop erupts in a storm of devastating explosions, but Tuji's eyes see through the chaos, tracking every move. He stands his ground as the fiery attack closes in. The assassin can only express his sheer annoyance. He stands amidst the wreckage, shocked that his attack missed, but he admits a target this tough is worthy of a Lord Spear. He addresses Tuji by his new name, a challenge in his eyes. Elsewhere, John the dog senses that something is wrong, and the sound of their battle wakes Kaido's mother from her sleep. She mistakes the fiery explosions for early morning fireworks, as Akatsuki rides the blast wave preparing an undodgeable strike. But Tuji's eyes see everything, predicting his opponent's every move. He knows Akatsuki is about to unleash 4 more explosives. He sees the detonation point just 2 meters in front of him, and knows he can scatter them before they explode. But Akatsuki snaps his fingers, triggering the trap. Tuji moves like a blur, kicking the devices away, and the rooftop is consumed by a wall of fire. Through the flames, his glowing eyes predict the next attack. Akatsuki lunges through the smoke, but Tuji is already gone. He counters with a devastating uppercut that finds its mark. The assassin can only stare, completely baffled by this turn of events. He's sent flying, wondering why none of his attacks will land. He can't understand how Tuji is tracking his every move. This feeling of being seen through, of being completely exposed, is just like the presence of the legendary Gungnir. And in that moment, Akatsuki understands the impossible truth. His mind shatters as he screams at the boy before him, demanding to know why his idol has returned as an enemy. Tuji can only gasp for air, the fight taking its toll. He knows Kaido's body can't withstand this assault for much longer, and so he plants his feet, deciding not to retreat another step. A change in tactics that does not go unnoticed by the assassin. Akatsuki declares that reading his moves is useless. He unleashes a storm of explosives, daring him to dodge them all. But Tuji doesn't retreat, pushing forward through the barrage. His eyes glow with resolve, determined that no one else will ever have to suffer because of him. Akatsuki snaps his fingers, ready to end this, and the rooftop is once again consumed by fire. But through the smoke, he senses Tuji's presence, and lands a devastating blow right on target. The assassin is stunned, declaring that this time, it's truly over. Akatsuki screams his name, ready to end this fight for good, but the attack is stopped cold by Tuji's arm. Akatsuki stares in shock as Tuji calls him by his real name. He reveals he heard the plan to aim for his head, and in that moment, he snatches the detonator from the assassin's prosthetic arm. He follows up with a devastating counter of his own. His voice roars with a promise to protect his new life. He declares that he will defeat the entire organization. Guess he's not a fan of their corporate culture. He follows up with a powerful spinning kick, sending the Lord Spear flying across the rooftop. The final blow lands, pinning the assassin to the rooftop floor, and as Akatsuki falls, his world is consumed by fire. His mind flashes back to the man he once idolized, to a mission where Tuji promised to return alive, vowing that he wouldn't let his comrades die, a promise that inspired the young assassin to make his own decision, to follow the justice of the man he so admired. Back in the present, Akatsuki asks why Tuji spared his life. Tuji explains that as long as the bombs are disabled, he won't kill again. But the defeated assassin warns him that he can't fight the organization alone. He declares that he will absolutely win, because as the sun rises over the city, he knows this is the only justice a former hitman can have. Akatsuki can only stare, completely stunned by his words. He remembers the day Gungnir invited him to join his cause. Tuji continues, vowing to take down Great Will and Odin, promising that he will defeat them all. The defeated assassin looks down, processing this impossible claim, and then he bursts into laughter, calling Tuji completely insane. But his laughter fades, replaced by a stunning declaration of his own. He believes him. Akatsuki looks down at him, a stunning realization in his eyes. He explains that only one person could make such an outrageous claim. Tuji can only whisper the assassin's real name in return. Akatsuki asks how this is possible, as he thought Tuji died on a mission. Tuji explains that when he woke up, he was in the body of Fujiwara Kaido. He points to the scar on his head, confirming his brain was transplanted. The revelation leaves the young assassin completely stunned. But Tuji isn't finished. Revealing the one who ordered his death was almost certainly their own leader, Odin. The news shatters Akatsuki's world, leaving him in utter disbelief. He explains that he needs power and asks Akatsuki to lend him a hand. The young assassin can only stare, his mind reeling from the revelation. He remembers the day the original Tuji recruited him, asking him to join his cause. Akatsuki struggles to process this impossible request. He rips off his prosthetic arm, declaring he can't fight the man he once idolized. Guess that's one way to resign. He asks if Tuji plans to return, but Akatsuki knows there's no going back for him now. Tuji watches, wondering what his former comrade will do. Akatsuki declares he'll investigate the truth himself, refusing to believe Odin would betray his strongest spear. He leaps from the roof, telling Tuji to escape before the police arrive. And Tuji is left alone on the ruined rooftop, his first potential ally now gone. He can only whisper his former comrade's name. The fight has left him completely drained of energy, but he senses another presence on the rooftop watching him. A new figure arrives, revealing this was all part of a plan to capture him, and Tuji finally succumbs to his exhaustion, collapsing to the ground. He hears a voice in the darkness, someone calling his name. He opens his eyes in a strange, unfamiliar place, finding himself floating in a vast cosmic void. A voice welcomes him, telling him he's finally awake. And he comes face to face with the original owner of his body, Fujiwara Kaito. Kaito greets him with a calm, knowing smile. Tuji can only stare, recognizing the boy whose life he's living. Kaito tells him to use his power to protect Yuzuha. As Tuji screams for him to wait, his voice echoing in the void. But he jolts awake in his own bed, the dream already fading. He's greeted not by a cosmic entity, but by a very happy dog. He finds himself back in his room, the whole encounter feeling like a fever dream. Meanwhile, the morning news reports on the explosions at a local high school. His new parents realize the incident happened at Kaito's school. His mother worries, mentioning he came home early and has been unconscious ever since. He'd sent a text, a simple excuse for his sudden absence. His new father tries to calm his wife's worries, blaming it on exhaustion. He assures her that with school conveniently closed, Kaito will be just fine. Tuji finally wakes up, his mind still foggy after sleeping for half a day. He remembers collapsing but has no idea who treated his wounds. His thoughts turn to Akatsuki, who ultimately believed his impossible story. He clenches his fist, wondering how he managed to win with this body. The power he displayed was far beyond what he thought possible. He recalls that strange sensation, as if his opponent's thoughts were flowing into him, a power that allowed him to turn the entire fight around. His quiet moment is interrupted by John, and a sudden buzzing call from Yuzuha. He answers in a panic, asking if she's okay. But it turns out she was the one worried about him. She explains the school rooftop was blown up, closing it for a week. Guess Akatsuki wasn't subtle about his resignation, but her tone quickly turned suspicious. She asks if he's gotten himself into trouble again. Tuji can only sweat, his poker face failing him completely. She points out that trouble has followed him since he left the hospital. He realizes she's just as sharp as ever, but he reminds her that she's the one who's truly in danger. He looks out his window, telling her not to worry, and makes a firm promise that he will always protect her. A declaration that leaves Yuzuha completely flustered. She quickly backtracks, telling him to forget she said anything. Meanwhile, his new mother peeks out, hearing the commotion. She finds the hallway empty, save for a package on the floor. She calls out to Tuji, asking if he's awake, and tells him a package has arrived for him. Tuji is confused, wondering who would send him anything. He can't remember ordering anything for Kaito. His new mother tells him dinner will be ready soon. Tuji holds the box, his assassin instincts kicking in as he assesses its weight. He carefully opens it, checking for any signs of tampering, but his eyes widen as he sees what's inside. It's his old signature weapon, Gungnir's knife, a relic from a past he thought was buried forever. And it came with a note from someone who knows the real him. Well, so much for a quiet life. He holds the card, his expression hardening with resolve. He knows he has to meet the person who sent this. Tuji follows the coordinates to a deserted street in Shinjuku. He wonders if the sender of the knife is really in a place like this. With his old weapon tucked away, he's ready for anything. The note promised a meeting with someone who knows his true identity. He's certain it's the person who transplanted his brain into Kaido's body. He finally arrives at the designated location. An old building, perfect for a clandestine meeting, or a really bad first date. He steps inside, finding the lobby completely empty. The silence is heavy as he stands in the deserted space. He cautiously proceeds down a dark, shuttered hallway. He realizes, just as he suspected, that the person who sent the knife is luring him into a trap. How very original. He cautiously peeks around the corner, finding himself in a deserted underground parking garage. He steps into the open, wondering if his contact is here, but his instincts suddenly scream a familiar warning. He ducks just as a projectile whistles past his head. He identifies the weapon instantly, a crossbow bolt. A new figure appears, impressed that he dodged the attack. And he's not alone as two assassins reveal themselves, already aware of the Gungnir legend. The woman notes that his brain seems to be working just fine. Tuji gets into a fighting stance, asking if they're the ones who called him here. The man with the crossbow explains that answers are earned, not given, and that Tuji will have to defeat them to prove he's worthy. He fires a bolt that narrowly misses our boy's head, but Tuji's senses pick up another presence in the darkness. The red-haired woman smashes through a pillar, dodging a sudden attack. She seems impressed by the power behind the unseen strike, an attack that came from Tuji himself, firing a laser from his eye. He analyzes her fighting style, realizing her power is on par with a mid-level lance. But the woman meets his attack head-on, blocking it with ease. He realizes their coordination is flawless, a classic pincer attack, so he unleashes another blinding flash of energy from his eyes. But a third fighter suddenly appears, interrupting the battle. An unexpected arrival that catches the other two assassins completely off guard. The red-haired woman intercepts the newcomer's attack and follows up with a devastating kick of her own. The blow sends the white-haired man flying across the garage, but she's also sent reeling back by a powerful counter. The newcomer lands on his feet, clearly furious with the interruption. The white-haired man is furious, wondering what just happened. He lunges forward, determined to make Tuji pay, but Tuji recognizes this sensation, the same one from his fight with Akatsuki. He can feel his opponent's next move before it even happens. His mind breaks down the entire attack pattern in an instant, and with that knowledge, he easily slips past the first blow. The attacker is stunned, as Tuji realizes he doesn't even need to dodge. He can simply meet the attack head-on. His spatial awareness, reaction speed, and predictive abilities are all accelerating at an impossible rate. He brings his foot down with overwhelming force. The blow sends the white-haired man flying across the garage. The red-haired woman can't believe they were so easily shut down. She finally understands this is the power of the legendary Gungnir, but her partner gets back up, seemingly impressed by the attack. Tuji is stunned that the man is still standing after that impact. The attacker, Raoul, declares that playtime is officially over. He reaches into his pouch, preparing to use a hidden item. His partner, Reika, screams at him to stop, calling it insubordination. But Raoul refuses to back down, his pride completely shattered. But a new voice orders Raoul to stand down. Tuji's eyes widen in shock, recognizing the man instantly. The newcomer confirms the brain transplant was a success, greeting Tuji by name. Tuji screams his name, Kuji Kyusuke, the doctor for the Great Will Organization. He accuses the doctor of being behind everything, but Kuji tells him to calm down. The doctor then drops a bombshell. He's no longer with the organization. Well, this is getting complicated. Tuji is left completely speechless by the revelation. Kuji offers to finally explain what happened on the day he died. He and his two associates promise to tell him everything they know. Tuji listens, ready to finally uncover the truth. Tuji demands to know what Kuji's role is in all this. The doctor explains that Odin ordered his death, a mission carried out by his own partner, Hayate. Kuji reveals he was one of the few who knew about the plan, and he leaked the information, so that his new allies could recover Tuji's brain from his body after the assassination. Tuji realizes the doctor betrayed Great Will and asks who these new people are. Kuji introduces them as members of a special government agency called Argos, formed to destroy Great Will. And it was Argos who performed the surgery, transplanting his brain into Kaido's body. The two agents just watch, one with a smirk and the other still nursing his pride. Guess the welcome wagon is a little bruised. Tuji is left reeling, trying to process this impossible truth. The agents offer a much more casual introduction, with the woman cheerfully greeting the legendary Gungnir. They explain that Great Will is the government's top priority, and they saved his brain to recruit him. Tuji clutches his head, his mind reeling from the impossible truth. He realizes the fight was just a test, and that they knew he was going to die that day. And if they knew about his assassination, his mind flashes back to the one person who died by his side. His eyes burn with rage as he accuses them of knowing Mirai would be killed. The red-haired agent is stunned by his sudden, furious accusation. Her partner denies being at the scene, asking who Mirai even is. Guess they skipped that part of the mission briefing. Tuji then asks if his new ability to read minds is a side effect of the surgery, but the weight of it all is too much, and he collapses to the ground. The agents can only stare as Tuji suddenly collapses. The doctor repeats his words, trying to process this new ability. But Tuji is out cold, the strain finally taking its toll. Elsewhere, back at Great Wheel headquarters, Yashima asks for an update. His associate reports that Akatsuki has gone completely silent. She notes that the Lord Spears are allowed to act independently. She pulls up a news report on the recent string of explosions. Yashima voices a terrifying possibility that Akatsuki was actually defeated. His associate finds the idea laughable, convinced it's impossible. Unless, of course, his opponent was the ghost of Gungnir himself. Back at headquarters, Yashima admits Gungnir's strength was superior. But new intel reveals that Argos knew about their plans. The green-haired woman realizes there must be a spy in their ranks. Guess the HR department has some work to do. Yashima's expression hardens, deciding they need to move quickly. He rises to his feet, his power radiating through the room. He declares a change of plans. They'll intercept Argos first. His associate simply smiles, agreeing with the new directive. Meanwhile, Tuji finds himself back in that strange cosmic void. Where Kaido explains this is the space where their minds have merged. The original owner of the body turns away, a silent figure in the darkness. Tuji can only stare, asking if this is really Kaido. The boy whose life he's living offers a calm smile. Tuji asks if the strange new power belongs to him. Kaito tells him he should be able to understand its true nature. He encourages Tuji to trust the feelings he experienced in the fight. And with that, Tuji's eyes snap open. He realizes the entire encounter was just a dream. But he knows Kaido's consciousness is still inside him somewhere. A voice explains he's in a secret base connected to the garage. The doctor reveals he's been analyzing Tuji's brain while he was out. The doctor shows him a scan of his brain activity. Tuji listens, his patience clearly wearing thin. Kuji explains that while the surgery was a success, his brain is now working on a completely different level. This hyperactivity is likely the source of his new mind-reading ability, but he warns that this power comes at a dangerous cost. The doctor holds the knife, his expression grim, but Tuji isn't interested in a medical lecture, pressing the blade to his throat. He demands to know if they let Mirai die just to get to him. The doctor calmly denies it, claiming he knew nothing about her. He asks if Tuji would have preferred to be eliminated along with the woman. The doctor's words send a fresh wave of fury through Tuji's eyes. The agents in the doorway tell him to put the knife away. The white-haired agent scoffs at being lectured by a former executive of that crazy organization. Kuji explains that Argos believes there are two keys to defeating Great Will. One is Gungnir, and the other is keeping them from obtaining a treasure called Fenrir's Seed. The name of the treasure sends a jolt through Tuji's mind. He realizes this is what Yuzua inherited, the very thing Akatsuki was targeting. Tuji finally asks what they want him to do, a question that catches the agent completely off guard. Tuji explains this isn't a new decision, but a vow he made long ago. The agent finds their mutual interests a solid foundation for trust. The doctor reveals they're planning an attack on one of Great Will's bases, and they want Tuji to join, a place he knows all too well. Kuji explains it's a top-secret facility dedicated to forced human evolution. The Avalon Research Institute, the cornerstone of their entire operation. Tuji asks what Fenrir's Seed is, but the doctor admits they'll have to find out by infiltrating the facility. Tuji realizes this is his chance to learn the truth about the treasure, and finally understand why Yuzuha is being targeted. He demands to know the time and details of the operation. He's in. High above the clouds, the doctor's voice explains the mission. If Tuji can steal and destroy their research, it will be a devastating blow to the entire organization. Tuji sits in the transport, his old weapon a familiar weight in his hand. His eyes are firm, his focus locked on the Avalon Research Institute. With just 3 minutes until the drop, the conditions are less than ideal. His new partner, Raoul, asks if he's feeling scared. Tuji just throws the question right back at him. A faint smile plays on his lips, ready for the fight to begin. Back at Argos headquarters, the full scale of the target is laid out. A place that started as a training ground for assassins, but is now a factory for turning humans into monsters. How charming. Kuji explains their target is on the third underground floor, where all the important data on Fenrir Seed is stored. Their mission is to recover that data and take control of the entire facility. Raoul notes that while it's top secret, the infiltration team faces the greatest risk. Tuji immediately volunteers for the dangerous job. He insists that he's the one who has to do it. Raoul just smirks, admitting that was the plan all along. He declares that Tuji's life now serves the cause of world peace. No pressure. Raoul declares he's coming along for the ride. The order is given to prepare for descent. Reika barks out orders to the different squads. Their job is to create a very loud distraction. Tuji and Raoul stand at the edge of the open bay. But Tuji isn't worried. He can sense it. As the countdown begins, Raoul has one last thing to say. But Tuji cuts him off, declaring he's no longer Gungnir. And with that, the operation officially begins. Raoul screams that he's going too fast. Guess gravity isn't part of the plan. Tuji plummets towards the heart of the organization, Avalon. His eyes are locked on the facility, the place that holds all the answers. Raoul spots the target below, a massive, cross-shaped complex. He panics as the deployment point arrives, screaming for his chute to open. The agents descend in the dead of night, their parachutes blooming in the dark. They land with practiced ease, detaching from their gear in an instant. Raoul is still shaken, but Tuji is already focused on the next step. They hide in the foliage, with Tuji pointing out their infiltration point. As they approach the shutter, Raoul volunteers to handle the door. But Tuji's expression suddenly changes, sensing something is wrong. And just like that, the facility erupts in a massive explosion. Tuji looks up, knowing the diversion has officially begun. Reika confirms her squads are creating chaos as planned. Raoul quickly gets to work, opening their infiltration point. He gestures for Tuji to go first, a sign of respect. Tuji steps into the enemy's den, his expression firm. Inside, alarms blare, announcing the external assault. All security is ordered to the main gate and rooftop. The staff panics, convinced no one would dare attack them. As they walk, Raoul notes how quiet it is. But his enhanced senses already detect 4 hostiles approaching. He sprints ahead, leaving a very confused Raoul in his dust. The guards spot their shadows, alerting the others to the intruders. One of them peeks around the corner, ready to open fire. But Tuji is already there, neutralizing him with a single, precise strike. The entire squad is down before they can even raise an alarm. Guess the welcome committee is out of commission. More guards appear, raining down gunfire from above. But to Tuji, their reaction time is laughably slow. He moves like a blur, weaving through the hail of bullets, and appears before them, unleashing a flurry of disabling blows. The guards open fire, trying to stop the intruders. But Tuji is already on them, his blade finding its mark. He disarms another with brutal efficiency, and sends the last one flying with a single, powerful kick. Raoul arrives just in time to see the aftermath. He can't believe Tuji took down 4 enhanced soldiers so quickly. He finally understands how much power Tuji was holding back during their test. But Tuji is already moving, telling him to keep up. Their progress is being watched on a security monitor by a mysterious figure who seems amused by their infiltration. The observer notes that the knife user is quite skilled. A blue-haired woman asks if her associate is impressed, who finds the target quite appetizing. She addresses this new threat, a stitched-up man named Izumo, who is devouring a massive feast. He asks if killing the intruders will finally earn him his freedom. The woman happily confirms his assumption. She reminds him of the mission Odin gave him, to protect Avalon. And she dangles a promotion in front of him, the title of a Lord Spear, Gay Bolg. Izumo is thrilled at the chance to finally test his power in a real fight. He is Omega, a candidate for the 12 God Spears, ready to prove his worth. And as Tuji and Raoul descend, a new voice calls out to them from the shadows. Raoul screams at Tuji to get ready for the enemy. A memory of Kuji explains the facility's true purpose, to create more enhanced soldiers, more killers just like him. But Tuji simply turns, telling his confused partner it's time to go. His eyes burn with resolve, vowing to deny their twisted ideology. As alarms blare, ordering all units to eliminate the intruders. Raoul meets the first wave, catching a bullet with his bare hands. He leaps through the air, returning fire with pinpoint accuracy. The guard falls, trying to get one last shot off in defiance. But Raoul is already on him, ready to end this little skirmish. He deflects a gun with his baton, and follows up with a devastating counterstrike. He disarms one guard, already turning to face the next. Meanwhile, Tuji joins the fight with a kick of his own. The 2 agents move in perfect, brutal sync. Raoul asks for a head count, and Tuji calls out their positions. They sprint forward together, ready for the next wave. Elsewhere, Izumo stretches, pleased with his recent meal. The blue-haired woman leaves him to handle the intruders, as another observer wishes her well, calling Izumo the facility's masterpiece. He declares his interest in the knife user, eager to end him soon. Because if Tuji is the price for his freedom, he needs to be a worthy opponent. But our boy is already deep inside the facility, his focus absolute. As they run, Raoul asks if he even knows where he's going, but Tuji is remembering. A memory of his childhood, holding a blade for the first time. He realizes he's been to this place, Avalon, once before. A place where he was forced to fight for his life. This is where he underwent the brutal training and experiments that made him an assassin. He and Raoul burst through the final door, their objective in sight. They've finally reached the third underground floor, the core of the human experimentation. They've found the cultivation room lined with glowing tubes. But Raoul notes it's just an empty shell. He hopes they left something behind in their haste, and his eyes widen as he spots one last tube. Inside, a body floats in the green liquid. Tuji calmly notes the subject is already gone. Raoul, meanwhile, is ready to leave this nightmare factory. Guess the tour isn't getting 5 stars. He finds a file detailing a failed human weaponization, but Tuji knows this isn't their primary target, calling out to his partner. He's found the real prize, the facility's data server. He accesses the research archive, opening the file for Project Fenrir. Raoul grins, realizing he's found exactly what they were looking for, and Tuji finally understands the true nature of the treasure. The file describes a genetic factor, a term that leaves him confused. Raoul explains that Fenrir's seed isn't a weapon, but a key to rewriting the world itself. But Tuji notices something strange in the data. 2 conflicting compatibility rates. Raoul clarifies that the rates didn't just mismatch, they changed over time, meaning someone switched the real Fenrir seed with a fake, a memo signed by Ji Akagi. A flashback confirms the horrifying truth. Chairman Akagi was a researcher at Avalon. Raoul realizes the man was purged for his theft and quickly begins downloading the data. Tuji connects the dots. He and Hayate were sent after Akagi for stealing the treasure, and now, Great Will believes Yuzuha inherited it. But he knows she's just an ordinary girl, which leaves one big question. Suddenly, his enhanced senses flare up again. He stumbles back, much to Raoul's confusion. He can feel an overwhelming presence, a powerful emotion directed right at him. Raoul calls out his name, but Tuji is already gone. He sprints down the stairs, leaving his partner to wonder what's happening. But he knows this new enemy has no intention of letting them leave. It's a feeling beyond anger or sadness, a will so strong it's almost suffocating. Raoul asks what's wrong with Tuji, who is still reeling from the presence he felt. Just then, the elevator doors slide open before them. They step into a vast, empty chamber, wondering where they are. Their feet crunch on a floor covered in a thick layer of ash. They notice the smell of something burnt, realizing what they're standing on. A voice welcomes them to Avalon's final disposal site. The blue-haired woman appears on a monitor, introducing herself as Izumo. She smiles, complimenting their magnificent performance so far. Raoul realizes she just watched them steal the data without interfering. She explains she has something interesting prepared for them as a reward. And their reward is a monster with a stitched-up grin. Tuji's eyes glow, sensing the overwhelming danger. He unleashes a powerful kick without a moment's hesitation. Raoul can only stare, wondering what he's even seeing. A massive explosion of golden light fills the entire chamber. Raoul questions if they've just unleashed a dinosaur. A perfectly reasonable question. But through the smoke, Tuji sees his target is completely unharmed. The stitched-up man is impressed, realizing they're no ordinary soldiers. Tuji demands to know who he is, and if this was all a trap. The man just smiles, introducing himself as a product of this very facility. He explains he was once just a test subject, but now he's a Lord Spear. Guess the company benefits are pretty great. The news of a new Lord Spear sends a jolt through Tuji. The monster introduces himself as Gay Bulgs Omega, ready to play. Tuji tightens his grip on his knife, preparing for the fight. He realizes he's facing another one of the 12 God Spears, and that the voice from the speaker, Izumo, must be one he already knows. Omega then explains that he's the replacement. For the legendary assassin Gungnir, he notices Tuji's reaction, sensing a personal connection. Tuji's eyes narrow, the fight now deeply personal. The monster finds this all very interesting, explaining his fascination with the emotions of humans, and he can't wait to get out and play with all of them. Guess his idea of fun is a little different from ours. Raoul sees an opening, convinced he can take the shot. But Omega just turns his back, taunting that a bullet won't be enough. Raoul's eyes narrow, his finger tightening on the trigger. The monster just grins, inviting them to enjoy the fight. He stomps his foot down with incredible force, kicking up a massive cloud of ash from the floor. Raul is blinded by the sudden dust storm, unable to see a thing. But Tuji's eyes glow, screaming for Raul to get back. The agent is confused, unable to see through the dust, and a devastating punch sends him flying. He crashes to the ground, his gun clattering away. But Tuji is already there, his blade ready to strike. He unleashes a flurry of attacks, a whirlwind of red light. The monster lands on one hand, his bandages tearing, and counters with a powerful acrobatic kick. He seems to be having the time of his life. Raul gets back up, admitting his opponent is tough. Omega notes that while Tuji is strong, he's clearly holding back. Tuji just tightens his grip, his focus absolute. The monster points out that every attack was meant to disable, not end. He taunts that a killer like Tuji should have no problem with this. A nerve has clearly been struck. Tuji unleashes a furious kick, but the monster blocks it with ease. He wipes away a trickle of blood, his expression hardening. Omega counters with a punch of his own, but Raul suddenly intervenes, ramming his weapon into the monster's face. Guess he was tired of being a spectator. He screams in rage, determined to end this monster himself. Raul unleashes a powerful electric shock from his weapon. He slams the monster to the ground, pinning him with his foot. But Omega just blasts them both away with a surge of energy. He calmly pulls the weapon from his mouth, apparently used to the voltage. Tuji moves in, but his attack only shatters Raul's broken weapon. The monster lands gracefully, taunting them from a distance. But Tuji is already behind him, his blade finding its mark. Omega just grins, thrilled by the scent of a true killer. This guy has some very specific hobbies. Tuji tells him to shut up, realizing his power is the real deal. But trying to read his mind is like drinking pure poison. Omega taunts that attacks without killing intent won't stop him. Tuji's eyes narrow, his resolve hardening. The monster screams that the knife has to pierce his heart to work. He leaps forward, kicking up a cloud of ash as he attacks. Tuji braces for the blow, admitting this new opponent is strong. But his eyes see a fatal flaw. The monster's attacks are monotonous. He effortlessly deflects the powerful punch, finding the opening he was waiting for, and unleashes a devastating counter that sends the monster flying. In an instant, his blade is at Omega's throat, the tables completely turned. He realizes the monster's movements are just unrefined brute force. A flurry of precise strikes lands, meant to disable him completely. He follows up with a powerful blow to the monster's chest. The impact sends the Lord Spear candidate flying across the room. The monster can only roar in pain and frustration. Tuji notes his opponent's abnormal durability, but believes he's won. But a voice from the smoke asks how he deflected the attack. Tuji's eyes widen, a strange feeling washing over him. He can sense an eerie power, a terrifying possibility dawning on him. Because Omega reminds him that he's not just any test subject. Omega mocks him, his body already regenerating from the blow. On the monitor, Izumo notes that even their target is surprised. She explains that Omega is the culmination of their research, a monster with super regeneration she doubts Argos can handle. But Tuji's expression shows he's far from finished. Raul can only curse, watching the monster stand back up. He realizes their attacks are useless against this thing. A memory of Reika's warning flashes through his mind. But this time, he's determined to use his hidden trump card. He reaches into his pouch, ready to unleash whatever he's been hiding. He pulls out a syringe, a last-ditch effort to turn the tide. Tuji can only watch as his partner's body begins to change. Raul's muscles expand, his skin turning a furious red. He's using a powerful enhancement drug known as Overdrive, and roars that this is the true power of his organization, Argos. Tuji and Omega can only stare at the massive glowing figure. The monster, however, seems thrilled by this new development. Guess he wants one for his birthday. Raul's fist connects with a devastating, earth-shattering blow. The two powerhouses collide in a brilliant flash of light, and the monster is sent flying across the chamber. Raul's enhanced fist connects with a devastating blow. The monster can only spit blood, stunned by this new power. He follows up with another strike, roaring that this is his revenge. The drug, Overdrive, grants immense power for 10 minutes at the cost of his life. A memory of his lost family fuels his rage. He screams for their strength, his eyes burning with resolve. On the monitor, Izumo watches this new development with interest. The drug fuses muscle and nerve fibers, creating a temporary superhuman. She notes that even the righteous Argos walks a similar path to their own. And she leans in, eager to see what this new creation can do. He roars, his rage focused on a single target, Odin. As his punch sends the monster flying, Tuji sees his chance to strike. He moves in, unleashing a flurry of precise cuts with his blade. But Raul screams for him to get out of the way, and follows up with another devastating blow from above. The monster is sent flying, but lands gracefully on his feet. He's impressed by Raul's new power, a completely different level of strength. A twisted grin spreads across his face as he begins to understand. But Raul is unfazed, vowing to wear him down no matter what. And Tuji realizes the key: regeneration doesn't mean immortality. He knows he should be wearing the monster down, but something feels off. As Raul lands another blow, Tuji senses the shift in the fight. A twisted, knowing grin spreads across Omega's face. Tuji realizes the horrifying truth, screaming out a warning. He begs his partner to get back, to keep his distance. But it's too late, as Omega effortlessly blocks the enhanced agent's punch. The monster is thrilled, explaining it's better to dodge. Guess he's a fan of constructive criticism, and he unleashes a flurry of his own attacks with blinding speed. A final devastating blow finds its mark with brutal force. Raul can only gasp in pain, stunned by the monster's sudden change in movement. The monster declares he's found his mark, landing a devastating blow. But Tuji moves in, his blade drawing blood from the monster's arm. He follows up with a powerful strike of his own, sending the Lord Spear candidate flying across the chamber. Raul can't believe it, wondering if the monster was holding back. But Tuji explains the horrifying truth. He's absorbing their techniques at an impossible speed, a revelation that leaves the enhanced agent completely speechless. From the dust, Omega's voice mocks their human ingenuity. He points out that for all their talk of justice, they've perfected the art of destroying one another. Raul notes his partner's sharp tongue, but Tuji understands the monster's point, and that's exactly why he grips his blade, vowing to end Great Will himself, so that no one else has to suffer like he did. Raul can only stare, a sudden understanding dawning in his eyes. He realizes Tuji has also lost someone precious to this organization. Back in the fight, Tuji turns to his partner with a grim warning. He explains that at this rate, they are going to lose, because Omega is learning from every attack, adapting to their movements, and his own mind-reading ability is on a very tight timer. A memory confirms the backlash will leave him paralyzed for hours. Raul knows his overdrive drug only has a few minutes left, so Tuji proposes a new plan. He'll read both of their minds at once. Raul just has to follow his instructions perfectly. He's honored to be trusted by the legendary Gungnir. He agrees to bet everything on Tuji's plan. Omega just laughs at their sudden display of teamwork. He tells them to be more honest with their true nature, convinced that deep down, they just want to let loose. But the monster suddenly cuts off his own right arm and transforms it into a blade, declaring this is his real weapon. Well, that's one way to bring a knife to a fistfight. Raul is sent crashing to the ground, blinded by the ash. Tuji screams for him to get down as he unleashes a horizontal slash. He confirms his worst fears. This monster is learning from every blow. Omega laughs, realizing one solid hit is all he needs to win. Raul calls out to Tuji, ready for the next command, but Tuji tells him to wait for the perfect moment. The two agents move in sync, dodging the monster's sweeping attacks. Tuji watches the monster's shadow, his blade held tight. Omega roars, convinced this final blow will grant him his freedom. And with glowing eyes, Tuji gives the final signal to strike. As Omega swings his blade arm, Raul moves in from the blind spot, just as planned. His enhanced fist connects with brutal, overwhelming force, sending the Lord Spear candidate flying across the chamber. The monster can only gasp, the coordinated attack a complete success. Raul asks for a status report, and Tuji confirms the timing was perfect. Together, they vow to wear him down faster than he can regenerate, but Omega gets back up, admitting their teamwork surprised him. He realizes his new arm blade leaves him too vulnerable against them, and with a bloody grin, he decides it's time to change his strategy. He holds his new arm blade, pleased with the fit. Raul can only call him a monster as Tuji gives the order to split up. Tuji's eyes glow, his mind already processing the fight ahead. Raul's own eyes burn with resolve, ready to follow the plan. The monster lunges forward, vowing to crush them both. He decides to take out the bigger target, Raul, first, and unleashes a devastating swing with his new blade. But Tuji's mind sees the attack coming, screaming a warning. Raul dodges just in time, the blade whistling past his head, and Tuji moves in for the counter, catching the monster completely by surprise. Tuji's eyes glow, his mind processing the perfect opening. As Raul's enhanced fist slams into the monster's gut, the blow sends a shockwave through Omega's body, and Tuji follows up with a perfectly timed kick to the head. The combined assault sends the monster flying across the chamber, but Omega just laughs, thrilled by the sheer power of the blow. He declares that a wound like this is nothing to him, but his triumphant grin quickly fades into confusion. He realizes his super regeneration is suddenly failing him, The two agents stand over him, their plan a stunning success. But the monster just offers a bloody, shark-toothed grin. Tuji's eyes glow, screaming a warning to his partner. Raoul ducks without hesitation, following the command perfectly, as Omega's blade slices through the air where he just stood, creating the perfect opening for a devastating counterpunch. The combined assault sends the monster flying across the room, and they press their advantage, a perfect storm of fists and blades. On the monitor, Izumo is impressed by their flawless coordination, but she quickly realizes it's something far more terrifying. Because Tuji is controlling the entire battlefield all by himself, she notes that his abilities are beyond human, and his knife handling is on another level. A slow smile spreads across her face as she finally understands. She decides Omega is outmatched, and it's time to call it. The monster can only roar in pain and frustration, as Tuji and Raoul unleash a final, coordinated assault. A perfect storm of fists and blades overwhelms the monster. They send him flying back with a final, powerful blow. Omega crashes to the ground, his fight finally over. Raoul notes he's still regenerating, but Tuji sees the truth. His healing has slowed, and it's time for the final blow. Tuji's eyes widen, his resolve now clear. But Omega just grins, sensing the killer's intent, and for a moment the old Gungnir resurfaces. The monster explains he was created for one purpose: to end lives. A flashback shows his life as a weapon, praised only for his lethality, but his unstable nature marked him for disposal. He believes that without killing, his life is meaningless. He begs Tuji to end him, calling him the superior weapon. Guess that's one way to ask for a promotion. Tuji tightens his grip on the blade, his decision made. But Raoul steps forward, vowing to dispose of the monster himself. But Tuji lowers his blade, refusing to take a life. He steps in front of his partner, declaring he won't kill again. The monster can only stare, completely confused by this mercy. Raoul roars in frustration, questioning his partner's sudden sympathy. But Tuji explains that this monster is just a weapon, a tool created by great will, just like he once was. He knows that killing can't protect anything precious. It only leads to more loss, like the life of Yuzua's father, a path where everything he cares about is destroyed. And the defeated monster looks up, a new understanding in his eyes. But a voice from the monitor calls his mercy naive. Izumo admits she saw something interesting, as her subordinate confirms Omega is down. She dismisses the idea of reinforcements, declaring the game is over. With all the important data already moved, she reaches for a large red button, and with a smile, she announces the disposal of the entire facility. But Tuji's eyes glow, his senses screaming a new warning. He tells Raoul they have to retreat, realizing they're about to blow the place up. His partner can only stare in disbelief as the ground begins to shake, and a massive explosion rips through the chamber from above. They realize Great Will plans to erase all evidence, including them. Raoul screams at his partner to get moving as the chamber collapses. So Tuji throws the massive agent over his shoulder, sprinting for the exit. His eyes are locked forward, determined to make it out in time. But behind them, the defeated monster offers one last chilling smile, as the entire chamber collapses, burying him under tons of rubble. Above ground, the entire Avalon facility begins to shake violently. Reika screams for her squads to evacuate, realizing this is no earthquake. Kuji gets an alert, confirming a massive heat source is rising from below. Reika can only scream Raoul's name, knowing he's still trapped inside. As the entire complex is consumed by a single devastating blast, as the chamber collapses around him, Omega remembers that Tuji refused to end his life, a mercy born from seeing his own past in the monster, leaving the weapon to question his very purpose. And with that final thought, he's buried under the rubble. Meanwhile, Tuji and Raoul sprint for their lives, but Tuji's enhanced senses suddenly flare up. He stops dead in his tracks, realizing Omega's presence is gone. Raoul grabs him, furious at the sudden hesitation. He screams that survival is all that matters now. Guess a near-death experience makes for a great pep talk, but Raoul's firm grip snaps him back to reality. He pulls Tuji along and the two sprint for their lives. They race through the collapsing facility as debris rains down, but their escape is cut short by a fork in the road. As Raoul panics, Tuji confidently points the way forward. He remembers the path from his childhood, much to Raoul's relief. Tuji's resolve hardens, knowing he has to survive to bring back the data. He's fighting not just for the mission, but for Yuzuha's safety. They finally reach the exit and he orders Raoul to get it open. But his eyes widen in horror as he screams for his partner to move. Raoul roars, unleashing the last of his overdrive power. He smashes his fist into the reinforced steel door. Tuji can't believe how thick the blast door is, but Raoul reveals the drug has more uses than just fighting, and with a final desperate punch, he blasts a hole right through it. Tuji sees the outside, screaming for his partner to run. He reaches out, determined to get them both out alive. But the entire facility erupts in a final fiery blast. Reika can only scream their names, watching the inferno. She collapses, convinced they were lost in the explosion. But through the inferno, a single figure emerges. Reika can only stare in utter disbelief. It's Tuji carrying his unconscious partner to safety. He collapses, assuring them Raoul just passed out from the drug's side effects. The enhanced agent is down, but he's alive. Reika is overwhelmed with relief, amazed they both survived. But she quickly asks about the data, and Tuji confirms the mission was a success. He offers a faint smile before finally succumbing to his own exhaustion. Reika catches him just as their ride arrives. With both agents down, their extraction is finally here. Reika gives the order to retreat, vowing to carry Tuji herself. As they escape, she marvels at Great Will's ruthlessness, wondering what their true goal could possibly be. Their transport flies away, leaving the inferno behind them. But back in the rubble, Omega stirs, surprised to be alive. A new, sinister figure appears, pleased that his pet project survived. Meanwhile, the Argos team makes their escape through the night sky. Tuji lies unconscious, the battle finally over for him. The scene shifts to a secret Argos laboratory run by Dr. Kuji, where the data they risked everything for is finally being analyzed. Dr. Kuji looks over the data, confirming his theory. It's the file for Project Fenrir's seed. And just as he thought the data is a sequence of human genes, his assistant is stunned by the revelation. Kuji explains it's a blueprint from a person with unique abilities. He connects this to Great Will and their leader, Odin, and realizes they're trying to create a god. Guess world domination was too small time. Meanwhile, back at Great Will, Izumo reports to Yashima. She confirms Avalon was lost, just as they planned. Yashima praises Izumo for her work, asking for her assessment of the Omega test subject. She reports that while he lost, his learning ability was remarkable, though his personality remains a major risk. Yashima dismisses him as a failed experiment, the limit of a failed god. Guess he won't be getting a glowing performance review. Izumo then moves on to new intel, showing footage of Raoul's enhanced form. She explains that Argos is also dabbling in human enhancement, creating a temporary power boost that could match Omega. But Yashima's focus is on the other intruder, the knife user, a sudden realization dawning on him. Izumo confirms his suspicions, revealing this is their second major finding from the incident. She explains that facial recognition has confirmed his identity. The system identifies him as Fujiwara Kaido, a close friend of Yuzua. And just as the defeated Lance Sanju had testified, his skills are undeniable. Izumo explains that Fujiwara Kaido's knife handling perfectly matches that of the legendary Gungnir. Yashima is stunned, insisting Tuji should be dead, but Izumo confirms the impossible has happened. She speculates a traitor must have saved his brain and connected him to their rival, Argos. Yashima wonders if this is connected to the other betrayal at Avalon. Izumo suggests they question the one person who would know for sure. Yashima's mind turns to the man responsible for eliminating both Akagi and Tuji. He decides it's time to hear his side of the story, and gives the order to summon his former partner, Hayate. Guess it's time for a very awkward performance review. Elsewhere, the man himself sits alone, completely unaware he's about to be called in. The man known as Hayate calmly cleans his weapon. He sits casually, scrolling through his phone. Yashima thanks him for answering their summons. He explains that he has a few questions for the assassin, but Hayate tells them to get on with it, clearly unimpressed by the formalities. Guess he's got a busy schedule. Yashima's tone hardens as he brings up the order from Odin. The mission to eliminate his own partner, Gungnir's Tuji. He asks if Hayate is absolutely certain he completed the task. The assassin's eyes narrow, his cool demeanor faltering for just a moment. He confirms he finished the job, as Izumo offers some very enthusiastic praise. But Izumo explains there's a problem with the Avalon incident. Security footage shows Tuji fighting the monster, Omega, and she reveals they found Gungnir's signature knife at the scene. Hayate scoffs, calling it a strange story about a dead man. But Yashima identifies him as Fujiwara Kaido, a friend of Yuzua. Izumo adds that the Lord Spear who contacted him has also gone missing, and that the facility was destroyed, with Omega disposed of in the blast. Guess the new guy's probation period was short. Yashima turns to Hayate, asking if he actually let Gungnir escape. The assassin's cool demeanor finally cracks. He offers a chilling smile, asking if they're accusing him of betrayal. Izumo offers a placating smile, claiming she doesn't doubt him, but she points out his close friendship with the legendary Gungnir. Hayate's casual demeanor drops, his tone turning cold. He insists he killed the traitor with his own hands, and warns them of the consequences if they continue to doubt him. Guess HR complaints aren't a thing here. Yashima just offers a tense, knowing smile. He claims he's just confirming the facts of the mission. Hayate scoffs, sarcastically apologizing for assuming he'd be disposed of like Tuji. Yashima explains that to clear his name, he has a new duty. He orders Hayate to eliminate the boy known as Fujiwara Kaido, and this time, Yashima demands he bring back proof. Hayate just listens, his expression unreadable. Later, he makes his way up to his apartment. He scoffs at their demand for fact confirmation. He opens the door to his quiet hideout and collapses onto the couch with a sigh. But he's not alone, calling out to an uninvited guest. Guess his security system needs an upgrade. It's Akatsuki, who seems surprised by this choice of hideout. Hayate just smirks, asking what the Lord Spear wants from him. Akatsuki explains he has a question about his former partner, Tuji. Akatsuki demands to know if Odin ordered Tuji's death. But Hayate, Lance number 7, just offers a cryptic response. He explains his unwavering faith in Odin's vision for the world. Guess the company Kool-Aid is strong with this one. He then turns the question back on Akatsuki, asking why his own target is still alive. He pulls his gun, accusing the younger assassin of being the real traitor. Akatsuki prepares for a fight, his own weapons ready. A memory flashes through Hayate's mind, a voice calling out to a younger Tuji. A memory of the boy he was ordered to kill. He remembers the two of them on a rooftop with a mysterious figure, a man who taught them to see the bigger picture from up high. A man explains that from this height, the world below is quiet. A young Hayate loves the view, while a younger Tuji is clearly terrified. Their mentor explains that fear is proof of life, but it can blind you. He used to wonder why humans always repeat the same mistakes. War, hatred, and discrimination continue, even as technology advances. Young Hayate declares they just need to grow up and defeat the bad guys. But their mentor has a different idea. Immature humans must evolve, and he declares that they, his children, will be the ones to begin it. Guess he's not a fan of letting nature take its course. Akatsuki realizes this memory is of him, Hayate, and Tuji with that man. The flashback ends as he calls out Kaido's name, a new understanding dawning. Tuji wakes up in a hospital bed to the sound of his new parents' voices. His mother is overwhelmed with relief, just happy that Kaido is safe. His father explains that a friend provided a convenient cover story about a camping trip gone wrong. Guess infiltrating a secret assassin base wasn't on the approved list of activities. Tuji remembers collapsing after the Avalon mission and apologizes for worrying them. He sits up, the weight of his double life settling on him once again. His mother looks at him with concern, about to ask a difficult question, but his father quickly interrupts, brushing her worries aside with a cheerful laugh. He reminds Kaido that they're always there for him, and Tuji can only offer a quiet thank you. The friend who provided the alibi watches them leave from the doorway. He notes how much they care, but Tuji clarifies that they are Kaido's parents, not his. He reflects on all the reckless battles he's fought in this body, but Raoul tells him there's no turning back to a peaceful life now. He explains they're in a secure hospital managed by Argos, and advises him to lay low since his identity is likely exposed. Raoul then brings up the disturbing research they found at Avalon. Tuji can only wonder what Great Will is truly planning, and what their mysterious leader, Odin, hopes to achieve. Elsewhere, a crowd of people screams in terror, as a massive explosion rips through a nearby building. And amidst the chaos, Hayate watches with a casual, chilling smile. He reflects on the bomb Akatsuki set, a message just for him. He admits he escaped, but not before leaving a message of his own for Tuji. A memory reveals his own desire to leave this life behind. He wonders why Tuji would defy their leader's will a second time, and vows that if his old friend continues down this path, he'll end him for good. Back at the hospital, Tuji's expression is grim. Elsewhere, a new figure with a cheerful smile welcomes his guests. He's gathered a team of elite assassins for a new mission. Guess the B team wasn't cutting it. One of them, Lance number 16, knows this must be important, while another, Lance number 18, is thrilled at the chance to fight the legendary Gungnir. Lance number 23, Iwashimizu, pledges his unwavering loyalty to Hayate, as does Lance number 25, Narita, a man with a quiet intensity. One of the assassins asks for confirmation on their new mission, wondering if the boy known as Fujiwara Kaido is truly the legendary Gungnir. Hayate confirms it, explaining this is a job he can only entrust to them, a mission that is not just Odin's will, but his own. Guess he's taking this one personally. He remembers Yashima's order to eliminate Kaido and bring back proof. He corrects his team, declaring their target is not Kaido, but Gungnir's Tuji, And as Tuji rests in a hospital bed, Hayate vows to end him for good. Our boy can only sweat in his sleep, the threat already reaching him in his dreams. On the second day of his hospitalization, Tuji is still plagued by a splitting headache and a deep sense of unease he can't quite shake. A familiar voice pulls him from his thoughts, and he recognizes Raoul. His partner notes how terrible he looks, asking about the headache. Tuji confirms it's the backlash from overusing his power at Avalon. He suspects it's because he read two minds at once, putting a far greater strain on his brain than before. Raoul admits they're both out of commission for a while. Guess they won't be getting a perfect attendance award. But he assures Tuji this hospital is a fortress, with Argos agents everywhere. But Tuji still feels unsafe, much to Raoul's annoyance. He explains he had a dream about Odin and his old friend. The name of the leader catches Raoul's attention. He remembers Tuji hasn't seen the man in over a decade, and asks what the leader of Great Will is truly like. Tuji explains that to him and the other children. He was a kind, if sometimes strict, father figure, a description that Raoul finds hard to believe. Guess kind has a very flexible definition in the assassin world, but Tuji insists that all the children genuinely admired him. Raoul realizes those kids became assassins, just like the friend from his dream. He explains that his friend's name is Hayate, a memory of the two of them as children, confirming they were inseparable. He explains they got along since they were kids, a memory of them running from a dog, and he remembers Hayate as his only true friend, the same friend who was ordered to kill him. Guess true friend has a different meaning in the assassin world. Raoul can only state how rough that situation is. His father figure and his best friend are now his enemies, and a bad feeling tells him something is terribly wrong. A feeling that he's going to lose something irreplaceable again, a premonition he just can't seem to shake. But his thoughts are interrupted by a commotion at the door. It's Yuzuha, arriving with a fruit basket and a cheerful smile. Tuji's eyes widen in pure, unadulterated panic. She explains she heard he was hospitalized and came to visit. Raoul quickly grabs the other agent, deciding it's time to leave. He drags the man out, telling them to behave themselves. Guess he's the chaperone now. Yuzuha is completely flustered by his insinuation. Tuji can only ask why she came, a question she finds baffling. She notices how terrible he looks, her concern growing. But he suddenly slaps her hand away. He screams at her to go home immediately, a reaction that catches the attention of the agents outside. Guess their private moment is over. Yuzuha is completely stunned by his sudden rage. He reminds her of the recent kidnapping and the danger she's still in. He scolds her for being so careless with her own safety. He tries to explain that her being with him is a risk, but she yells back, insisting she was just worried about him. He cuts her off, his words leaving her completely flustered. He turns away, declaring he doesn't need her concern, and with a furious glare, he orders her to go home. Yuzuha can only stare back, completely heartbroken. She lowers her head, quietly agreeing with him. She admits he's right, and that being with her only causes him trouble. She turns to leave, promising not to bother him again. Tuji watches her go, convinced this is the only way to keep her safe. Outside, her driver panics as she walks away without a word. Guess the breakup was a little too convincing. Raoul steps back in, asking if he's sure about pushing away someone so precious. But Tuji explains that's exactly why he needs Argos to protect her and his new parents. Raoul reminds him that the girl he just pushed away was crying. A heartbreaking image of Yuzuha leaving the hospital in tears. But her departure is being watched through a sniper's scope. The sniper confirms she came from the same room as Kaido's parents, and that their target must be in the third-floor west wing. Their leader gives the order to stand by, his team moving into position. Outside, the assault begins as Yuzuha's driver is taken out. Guess that fortress wasn't so secure after all. One of the assassins, Kashima, is eager to kill Gungnir himself, while another, Narita, infiltrates from the back, noting everyone inside is a trained combatant. He correctly assumes the entire hospital is enemy territory. The assassin Iwashimizu decides Yuzuha's presence is a convenient bonus. He agrees to secure the girl, a twisted smile on his face. Back in the room, Tuji's senses suddenly flare to life. He lurches forward in pain, much to Raoul's alarm. His mind screams with a sensation he didn't notice until now. It's not just one hostile presence, it's four. He realizes 4 powerful killing intents are already close, a revelation that leaves Raoul completely stunned. He realizes with horror that Yuzuha is still in the hospital, and Tuji pushes through the pain, knowing she's walking right into a trap. Hayat gets confirmation that their target is indeed at the hospital. He calmly receives the news, his plan already in motion. His elite team of assassins has already made their move. The sniper, Iwashimizu, will provide support from the outside. but Hayate warns them not to underestimate their target, the legendary Gungnir. He wonders if this final confrontation was always their destiny, and with cold resolve, he vows to be the one to end Tuji's life. Back in the hospital, Tuji screams in agony, begging Raoul for help. He tells his partner to protect Yuzuha, promising to follow right behind. Raoul sprints out the door, vowing to keep her safe and telling Tuji to stay alive. He grits his teeth, his only thought for Yuzuha's safety. As she walks away in tears, his mind screams her name. Down in the lobby, the first victims of the assault are taken. The 30 Argo soldiers stationed on the first floor. They'd never seen anything like this in all their training. The overwhelming killing intent of true assassins. The invaders declare the hospital is now under their control, and they have no intention of taking prisoners. One of them roars for the soldiers to at least die with pride. The remaining agents open fire, trying to stop the vanguard. One of the assassins moves with blinding speed, his blade finding its mark. He scoffs at their slow reactions, leaving a trail of defeated soldiers. The remaining agents open fire, a desperate last stand. But their bullets bounce harmlessly off the second invader, who unleashes a devastating shockwave, clearing the entire lobby. A call for reinforcements is cut short as the assault continues. The Argos agents can't believe Great Will would be so brazen. While a third assassin, Narita, infiltrates from another wing, the defenders are picked off with ruthless efficiency. His mission is simple: let the others make noise while he quietly eliminates Fujiwara Kaido. The sniper confirms their forces are steadily reducing the hospital's numbers. He notes that the Argo soldiers are far below their skill level, and with the distraction in place, he turns his attention to his real target. Yuzuha is still reeling from Tuji's words, wondering what's wrong with him. Her driver tries to make excuses, but she knows something is different. The look on his face was one she'd never seen before. It was like he was a completely different person. Suddenly, a loud crash echoes from down the hallway. A voice calls out, declaring that they've been found. It's Raoul, sprinting towards them and screaming that it's an emergency. Yuzuha is stunned as Raoul recognizes her from Kaido's room. He screams that terrorists are taking over the hospital, urging her to run upwards with no time for explanations. But a voice from the shadows declares she won't be escaping. Two new figures block their path, standing over defeated soldiers. The assassins order them to leave Yuzuha behind. Yuzuha can only stare in absolute terror. She realizes these men know both her and Kaido's names. Raoul screams for them to run, shielding them from the threat. The larger assassin is thrilled, declaring this new opponent is his. Raoul meets the massive assassin's punch head-on, as the other marvels at his sheer size. He knows he can't use his enhancement drug, and wonders where Tuji has gone. Back in his room, Tuji screams for his partner to protect Yuzuha at all costs. And Raoul just smirks, knowing he owes the kid one. The other assassin roars, finally joining the fray. Meanwhile, Tuji smashes his fist against the door, trying to break free. He collapses, his head splitting, but his only thought is for Yuzuha's safety. And through the pain, his power flares to life, his eyes glowing blue. But he's suddenly ambushed, as throwing stars whistle past his head. A third killer has found him, and they aren't playing around. The assassin mocks him, finding it strange for the legendary Gungnir to be so weak, as Lance Narita vows to carry out his orders. But Tuji roars for him to get out of the way, his only thought on protecting Yuzuha. As the battle rages, the entire hospital is now a war zone. Elsewhere, Raoul has been brought to his knees, badly wounded. The massive assassin Kashima is impressed he's still standing. Guess he's a fan of durable punching bags. Raoul knows that while Omega had more raw power, this guy's technique is on another level. His own fists are shattering against the assassin's reinforced gauntlets. His partner tells him to stop playing around and finish the job. And Raoul can only scream in agony as another devastating blow finds its mark. The massive assassin prepares to end Raoul's life, but Yuzuha screams for him to stop. His partner Yakushi gets an urgent call from the sniper. He realizes they're being attacked from outside the hospital, and a projectile smashes through the window, striking him down. But Yakushi realizes this isn't a sniper's bullet. It's a series of strange, glowing cubes. They erupt in a blinding flash of green light. The assassin is completely disoriented, his senses overwhelmed, and Kashima is met with a powerful kick to the face. A new figure appears in a flash of blue light, taking down both assassins. He explains that waiting here was the perfect way to neutralize them. Yuzuha can only ask who this mysterious savior is. The defeated assassin demands to know who could get past them so easily. The newcomer offers a confident smile, introducing himself as Akatsuki, a name that sends a shockwave through the assassin, who recognizes a Lord Spear. Akatsuki vows that he won't let anyone harm Fujiwara Kaido. and declares that Bident, his other name, will be the one to stop them. He unleashes a volley of his signature explosives, and the sniper can only watch as the hallway erupts in a blinding green flash. The sniper is stunned by the sudden explosion inside the hospital. Akatsuki smirks, knowing the smoke has completely blinded his enemies. He stands over the two assassins he just neutralized. Yuzuha recognizes him as Amagasa, the transfer student from Kaito's class. He's pleased she remembers his name, offering a casual greeting. He tells her to evacuate and leave the rest to him. He warns her to stay away from the windows as a sniper is outside, but he reassures her with a confident smile. He declares that he's much stronger than he looks, and Yuzuha finally understands, her suspicions confirmed. Her driver panics, screaming for her to wait. The assassins watch her go, deciding to deal with Akatsuki first. The sniper outside confirms the new plan. They face the Lord's Spear, wary of his reputation despite his age. But they see this as a chance for a major promotion. Kashima lunges forward, ready to take the traitor's head. His massive fist connects with a powerful block. Akatsuki is impressed, admitting his opponent is tough. He follows up with a counterpunch of his own, but the massive assassin scoffs, declaring it's useless. The massive assassin roars, his fist crashing down with brutal force. But Akatsuki meets the blow, the two locked in a stalemate. The other assassin, Yakushi, joins in with a lightning-fast thrust, but Akatsuki easily dodges the flurry of attacks. He complements their coordination, clearly enjoying the challenge, and unleashes a volley of his signature explosive cubes. Yakushi's eyes narrow, ready to counter the incoming threat. He skillfully deflects the devices with his blade, calling it a clever trick, but he quickly realizes it was just a feint as the cubes begin to glow, and sees a second wave hidden perfectly behind the first. Akatsuki explains he's quite good at this sort of thing, and a massive explosion engulfs the blade-wielding assassin. But he's already planted another device on the massive Kashima. The assassin can only stare as the cube begins to glow. Akatsuki is blown back by the force of his own trap, but Kashima emerges from the smoke, protected by a strange armor. He roars that such simple explosives are useless against him, and smashes his fist into the ground with incredible force. Akatsuki is sent flying, as Kashima praises his durability. The Lord Spear agrees, ready to test their strength directly. The massive assassin's head snaps back from the force of the blow. Akatsuki puts every ounce of his strength into the punch, sending a shockwave through the entire hallway. Kashima lies on the ground, reveling in the sound of breaking bones. Guess he's a fan of percussive maintenance, but his smile fades as he sees his armored gauntlet completely shattered. He screams in disbelief, his hand now useless. His partner, Yakushi, is also down for the count. Kashima can't believe he was overpowered in a simple fistfight. Akatsuki reminds them of the mission they so eagerly accepted, and the two assassins realize they've severely underestimated a Lord Spear. Akatsuki prepares his next volley, vowing to end them all. Back in the room, Tuji blocks another vicious strike. As the assassin Narita unleashes a flurry of chained attacks, he's stunned by Tuji's stubborn refusal to fall, realizing the boy is reading his every move before it happens. But Tuji is frustrated, his weakened body failing to keep up. He grits his teeth, knowing he has no other choice. He has to defeat this assassin no matter the cost. Because if he fails here, his second chance at life is meaningless. He lunges forward in a desperate charge, a move Narita sees as pure foolishness. Narita unleashes his chained blade with blinding speed, but Tuji meets the attack head-on, a move that catches the assassin completely off guard. He grabs the chain, refusing to let go. Narita tries to pull his weapon free, but Tuji uses the momentum to close the distance. His eyes glow with a furious, desperate energy, and he lands a devastating blow right on target. Elsewhere, Yuzuha hears the sound of the fight, and she finally understands that Kaito has become a different person. She realizes his harsh words were just a desperate attempt to protect her, and with new resolve, she decides she has to be the one to save him. She runs back down the hall screaming his name, but her eyes widen in horror at the scene before her. His signature knife drips with blood, the fight clearly over. Tuji kneels on the floor, the defeated assassin slumped behind him. He gasps for air, the battle having taken a heavy toll. He looks up, whispering her name in disbelief. Yuzuha can only stare back, completely frozen in terror. The scene flashes back 30 minutes, as Kaito's mother senses something is terribly wrong. His father tries to calm her, saying Kaito came back safe. But she can't shake her suspicion about the sudden camping trip. The father dismisses it as a phase, but she points out his strange new friend. She remembers that both boys were covered in injuries, and that Kaito's entire personality has changed since the accident. Her husband tells her not to worry, but a mother's intuition is a powerful thing. She admits she's terrified he's going to disappear from their lives. Suddenly, John the dog senses a presence. He barks furiously at an unexpected visitor at the door, as his father goes to answer, wondering who it could be. The visitor claims to be a friend of Kaido's, here out of concern. His father is confused but begins to thank him for the visit. But a hidden weapon reveals his true intentions as he introduces himself. Hayate. He offers a chillingly cheerful smile. Back at the hospital, the aftermath of the battle is clear, and Yuzuha can only stare, her mind unable to process the scene. She sees the boy she knows as Kaido, kneeling over a defeated enemy. He looks up, his worst fear realized. She saw everything. He stumbles to his feet, trying to explain, but his bloody hand only makes the nightmare more real. She screams in terror, begging him not to come any closer. Tuji can only stare back, his heart shattering at her fear. She finally understands the truth, asking who he really is. But before he can answer, the defeated assassin gets back up. Tuji's focus snaps back to the fight, his eyes burning with rage. He shields Yuzuha as a volley of projectiles flies toward them. The assassin Narita admits he let his guard down against the legendary Gungnir. Tuji realizes with horror that Yuzuha is trapped in the line of fire. He takes the brunt of the attack, screaming for her to run. His voice roars with desperation, ordering her to get out now. Yuzuha can only stare, her mind reeling from his desperate plea. She finally turns and runs as the fight rages on behind her. The assassin Narita sees his opening, his eyes glowing with a twisted glee. But Tuji's enhanced senses see the curving projectiles heading straight for her. A blinding flash of impact fills the hallway, as Tuji throws himself in front of her, taking the full force of the attack. He grits his teeth, realizing the assassin was aiming for Yuzuha all along. His eyes burn with a furious, protective rage. Yuzuha collapses to the floor, looking back in horror, and she can only scream, watching him get hurt for her sake once again. Tuji's eyes burn with a familiar, terrifying rage, a memory of Mirai, lost to the violence he tried to escape. The assassin Narita gloats, realizing he's found his target's weakness. He screams that the girl is the key to defeating the legend. Because even if Gungnir can defend himself from any attack, he will always put his body on the line to protect her, and that moment of vulnerability is the perfect opening for a final blow. He lunges forward, his blade glowing with killing intent. But his triumphant grin quickly turns to pure shock, as Tuji catches the blade and delivers a devastating counter of his own. The assassin can't believe it, unable to track his movements. As Tuji pins his foot to the floor with his own weapon, he roars that the assassin dared to hurt Yuzuha, and with eyes burning red, he tells him to get lost. He unleashes a furious, overwhelming barrage of strikes, each blow landing with brutal, calculated force. His rage is a storm, completely unrestrained, and a final powerful kick sends the assassin flying. Guess he's not getting up from that one. The battle is over, the assassin defeated at his feet. As Yuzuha watches, he vows he won't let anyone hurt her ever again, but his eyes glow with a brilliant blue light, his power flaring to life. He dodges a sniper's bullet just in the nick of time. Yuzuha can only watch, her fear turning into fury, and she screams, her patience with these people finally gone. Outside, the sniper can't believe he missed his shot. He realizes Tuji dodged it, calling him a monster and knowing he has to move. He concludes that to kill Gungnir, they'll need to call in the big boss. But Tuji is already struggling, the backlash from his power hitting him hard. He collapses to the floor, the pain in his head completely overwhelming. But his only thought is to get Yuzuha to safety, no matter the cost. Yuzuha looks at the boy she thought she knew, her suspicions finally confirmed. She admits that even though he's not Kaido, he still tried to protect her. And with a new fire in her eyes, she demands to know who he really is. Tuji can only stare back, the truth caught in his throat. He knows he can't keep lying to her anymore. But just as he's about to confess, a new threat interrupts. A new overwhelming presence fills the hallway. Tuji looks up to see a new figure approaching them. His senses scream a warning, a killing intent unlike any he's felt before. The newcomer calmly addresses Yuzuha, claiming to understand her confusion. He confirms her worst fears, explaining that this boy isn't Kaido. The newcomer looks down the hall, asking if he's correct, and addresses him by his true name, Tuji. Guess the secret's officially out. Tuji can only stare in shock, screaming his old friend's name, Hayate. Elsewhere, Akatsuki stands over the defeated Kashima, laughing at his victory. The massive assassin struggles to his feet, realizing his arm is useless after that last blow. Akatsuki notes his opponent's durability, asking if he's ready to give up. But Kashima grits his teeth, roaring that he'll continue to fight. Because if he backs down here, he'll be nothing but a loser. And he unleashes a final, desperate roar of defiance. Akatsuki prepares a final, glowing projectile. He steps on another explosive cube, apologizing for what's to come. The device erupts in a blinding flash of light. Kashima screams, finally understanding the gap between a lance and a lord spear. Akatsuki calmly declares that the fight is over. His other opponent, Yakushi, is also down for the count. Raoul struggles to his knees, hearing the distant explosion. His only thought is to get Yuzuha away from these great will assassins. He looks up, exhausted, at the hole in the wall, but Kashima's eyes widen in shock at something he sees. Raoul can only stare, realizing both lances were taken down by a single person. Akatsuki dismisses them as foolish, blood dripping from his hand. Raoul calls out to him, noticing he's been injured in the fight, but Akatsuki tries to laugh it off, claiming it's an old wound from yesterday. A memory reveals that different guy was actually Hayate, who left him with a parting gift before escaping their last encounter. And now that old wound has reopened from the strain. Raoul is stunned, wondering who this kid is that can defeat two lances while so badly hurt. Akatsuki just tells him not to worry, confirming he's not an enemy. But he has to leave, his own mission still unfinished. Hayate offers a casual smile, explaining the situation to Yuzuha. As Tuji stands ready, the ghost of their past friendship looms over him. Yuzuha's mind reels, trying to process this impossible revelation. She asks who Tuji is, a question Hayate finds very amusing. He suggests she should probably ask the boy himself. How helpful. Tuji asks his old friend how he knew it was really him. Hayate explains that surviving his assassins was all the proof he needed. A memory of their childhood, inseparable even when running from a dog. A time when, no matter what happened, the two of them were always together. Tuji grips his bloody knife, his voice trembling with rage. His mind flashes back to the night he and Mirai were taken from him, and he screams at his old friend, demanding to know why he killed them. But Hayate just calmly states he already gave him the answer that day, reminding him of his own words, that Odin would never allow them to be free. He then turns the question around, asking how Tuji could betray their leader. Hayate explains he was just following the oath they made to Odin as children, and to prove his point, he aims his weapon right at Yuzuha. Tuji roars for him to stop, insisting she has nothing to do with their past. Hayate just smirks, realizing he's found a new weakness, and mentions the other people he just met. Hayate's words hit him like a punch, asking if Kaido's parents were also important. He declares that Tuji is the real evil for defying their leader's justice, and in that moment, Tuji's power flares to life. He shoves Yuzuha out of the line of fire. Just as Hayate pulls the trigger, the bullet screams through the air, aimed right at him. But Tuji moves like a blur, closing the distance in an instant. He lands a devastating blow, a flash of furious red light. But his old friend just takes the hit, his expression unreadable. Guess he's tougher than he looks. Tuji's eyes widen in shock, realizing the bullet still found its mark. The bullet finds its mark, tearing through Tuji's shoulder. He stumbles back, the impact sending him to the floor. But his only thought is for Yuzuha, screaming for her to stay safe. She runs, her mind reeling from the chaos, and she can only scream the name of the boy she thought she knew. Tuji grits his teeth, realizing his power can't overcome the speed difference. He pushes through the pain, focusing his mind on Hayate's will. The assassin notes that his attacks are being read, an impressive feat. A development he finds very interesting. He decides it's time to use his true power on Tuji once again. He unleashes his signature technique, no self-swift speed. Tuji watches as his old friend stands at the end of the hall, but in an instant, the assassin vanishes completely. Tuji's eyes glow, his power flaring in confusion. He can't sense Hayate's will anywhere. Guess he's a ghost now, until a gun is suddenly pressed against his head. His eyes widen in pure, unadulterated shock, and Hayate pulls the trigger without a moment's hesitation. He fires again, forcing Tuji to dive for cover. It's like fighting a ghost who leaves no presents to read. But this sensation, this feeling, he knows it. It's the same feeling from the night Mirai was taken from him, and his eyes burn with a furious blood-red rage. He meets Hayate's attack with a desperate glowing block. As Tuji screams his name, his old friend just offers a chilling smile. A memory surfaces of the oath they once swore together, a promise to eliminate the evil that technology couldn't solve. They were raised to believe they were the chosen seeds for that purpose, the ones who would bring true salvation to a broken world. Because he and Tuji were raised together in a Great Will facility, it was there they learned about the state of the world and were given a mission. A mission with one simple rule: stop your opponent's breath. A brutal training exercise where children were forced to fight each other. The only lesson was to kill if you didn't want to die yourself. A lesson taught through terror and desperation. And what they learned most in that place was the art of taking a human life. Their days were filled with grueling physical training. But even in that hell, Tuji and Hayate found small moments of peace, a brief glimpse of the childhood that was stolen from them. A memory of a young Tuji pointing out an injured puppy. Hayate calmly reassures him that the dog will be fine. His expression was always so steady, even back then, and he agreed to help the small animal. He even gave the puppy a name, Leo, and with a smile, he asked Tuji to raise it with him. A rare moment of warmth in their brutal childhood, because back then, they were more than just comrades, they were friends. But that friendship shatters as a bullet rips through the floor. And Tuji meets his old friend's attack with a furious, desperate block. Hayate unleashes another shot, his aim precise and deadly. He juggles his weapons, a storm of bullets filling the air. But Tuji deflects the attack, just like he did that fateful night. He knows if he hadn't seen this technique before, he'd already be finished. Yuzua can only watch in horror, screaming Kaido's name. Her mind struggles to understand the violence before her. Hayate is impressed, realizing Tuji is reading his every move. He admits his old friend is strong, but he knows his weakness. A memory of Tuji's simple wish to live a normal life. A wish Hayate sees as a betrayal of the power they swore to Odin. Hayate unleashes his signature technique once more. And just like that, his presence vanishes from Tuji's senses, leaving our boy completely alone in the empty hallway. But he realizes he can sense a flicker of will just as the shot is fired. He knows this is his only chance to defeat the ghost-like assassin. Yuzua watches in terror, wondering why he suddenly stopped moving. But Tuji is waiting, a perfect target baiting the next attack. Guess standing still is the new advanced combat tactic. He knows his brain alone isn't enough. He has to sharpen his entire body, focusing his mind, filtering out everything but his opponent's will. And in that instant, he feels it, locking onto the incoming attack. He locks onto the flicker of will, moving just as the shot is fired. A move that shatters Hayate's calm composure, because Tuji can finally sense him, a faint presence in the chaos. And he unleashes a desperate counterattack. But Hayate's shock quickly turns to a cold understanding. Tuji realizes the gun he targeted was just one of many, a simple decoy to draw his attention. And Yuzua watches in horror, realizing the horrifying truth. The presence he felt was a feint, and the real Hayate is right behind him. A single shot rings out, the impact echoing through the hall. And Tuji is sent flying back, his body hitting the floor hard. Yuzua can only watch in absolute paralyzing terror. But Tuji grits his teeth, his knife held tight in his mouth. He struggles to his knees, refusing to stay down. Hayate tells him to stop resisting, that he can't possibly win. He reminds him of his past, declaring a killer can never find true happiness. He blames Tuji for abandoning their vow and seeking a normal life, a choice that only brought more tragedy to those around him. Guess happily ever after wasn't in the contract, and declares that as long as Tuji lives, he will only cause pain. Hayate declares that as his friend, he'll be the one to end him, and Tuji's signature knife clatters to the floor, his will broken. He begins to believe Hayate is right, that Mirai died because of him. He sees a trail of suffering left in his wake, everyone he's touched now unhappy. He believes he never should have existed, but a voice cuts through his despair. It's Yuzua, holding a gun and declaring this person isn't Kaido. She tells Hayate he has no right to go this far. Akagi Yuzua stands her ground, aiming right at the assassin. Tears stream down her face, but her resolve is absolute. Because even if he's not Kaido, he's the one who saved her time and time again. She remembers all the kindness he's shown her, the moments that were real. And with that resolve, she declares that this time, she will be the one to protect him. Hayate scoffs, vowing to end her before she can even pull the trigger. But his body suddenly freezes, completely unresponsive to his commands. He can't understand what's happening, his finger unable to move. Yuzua stands firm, her eyes glowing gold, just as confused but vowing he won't die. She declares that this time she will be the one to save him, and Tuji can only watch, his own eyes reflecting that same golden light. Hayate finally realizes the impossible truth. This is all Yuzuha's doing, as a brilliant golden energy erupts from her, a power that connects them all. Tuji is bathed in a brilliant golden light. A voice calls out to him in the void, telling him to wake up. His original self opens his eyes, confused, and he sees Kaido floating before him. The boy reaches out, explaining that Yuzua is giving them strength. But Tuji is still lost in his despair, questioning his right to live. Kaido cuts through his self-pity, reminding him of what he just heard. He reminds him that Yuzua wants him to keep on living, and that Tuji did things that Kaido alone never could. Kaido tells him the rest is now up to him. Tuji's eyes open, a new understanding dawning. His resolve hardens, his purpose now clear. The two consciousnesses reach an agreement and merge in a brilliant flash of golden light. Back in the real world, Yuzuha's gun clatters to the floor. The strain is too much, and she collapses as well. Tuji lies on the ground, completely unconscious. Hayate can only stare, wondering what just happened. Guess overwhelming golden light wasn't in the mission briefing. He looks over at his old friend, his mind reeling from the impossible power he just witnessed. Tuji rises to his feet, holding the unconscious Yuzuha in his arms. A sight that leaves Hayate completely stunned. He gently places her in a safe room, his duty clear. Hayate can't believe how fast he moved. Tuji looks at his hand, now glowing with a golden light. He feels a strange calm, realizing this is Yuzuha's power. She's unconscious, but her will is still fighting for him. Hayate demands to know why his old friend is still standing. But Tuji declares that he can't die, not yet. A declaration that hardens the assassin's resolve. Hayate screams that their only purpose was to kill for Odin, but Tuji declares their lives have to mean more than that. A sentiment that only enrages his old friend. Because now he has people waiting for him to come home, and that's why he'll keep getting back up, no matter what. Hayate unleashes a furious volley, trying to silence him. But Tuji just walks forward, the bullets missing their mark. His eyes glow, tracking every single shot. He deflects them with a single effortless motion, a perfect defense against the storm of gunfire. Hayate is stunned as his attack is effortlessly blocked. He can't believe it, realizing Tuji's movements have completely changed. Our boy is a whirlwind of golden light deflecting every shot. He meets the bullets head-on, his blade glowing with new power. Hayate is completely baffled by this sudden second wind. He realizes this is a level of strength beyond even the old Gungnir, and he knows this is all because of the power Yuzuha just unleashed. The assassin grits his teeth, his frustration growing. He decides to end this now, unleashing his no-self technique once more. And just like that, he vanishes, leaving Tuji alone in the hall. But this new power is different from just reading intent. He can finally understand everything. Every movement, every flicker of will in this space. And he finally locks onto his target. A move that leaves Hayate completely stunned, his signature technique now useless. Tuji meets the attack head-on, his hand stopping the bullet before it's even fired. The assassin can only roar in disbelief. He unleashes a desperate volley, but it's too late. Because Tuji can now clearly read his old friend's thoughts, hearing the desperate question of why he would betray their cause. He hears Hayate's thoughts, questioning why he still has hope, when he's the one who abandoned their cause and lost everything. The assassin refuses to accept this betrayal, screaming that Tuji, who left him, has no right to hope. But Tuji's expression is calm, his resolve unwavering. He moves with impossible speed, stopping the gun before it fires. And with his other hand, he disarms his old friend completely. He uses the momentum to send the assassin flying with a single throw, because he can hear everything, every thought in Hayate's mind. Well, that makes for a very one-sided argument, and he follows up with a devastating kick, ending the exchange. A memory surfaces of a time long past, when a familiar sound would greet them, the puppy they named Leo running to meet them, a secret they kept, a small moment of joy. They'd nursed him back to health, hiding him from their instructors. Hayate was always the confident one, brushing off Tuji's worries. He insisted they couldn't abandon a friend, and a young Tuji could only look up to him in admiration. But that small moment of peace was never meant to last, as their childhood innocence was shattered in an instant. As the two boys find their small friend Leo has been hurt, young Tuji can only stare in disbelief, asking why this happened. They kneel over the puppy, their small world shattered, until their instructor appears, asking what they're doing. He declares the dog was an unnecessary distraction. Tuji looks up in horror, realizing the truth. His hand reaches out, a final, heartbreaking goodbye. But Hayate's grief turns to pure, unrestrained rage. He lunges forward, attacking the man responsible. But his small fist is easily caught, and he's met with a brutal counter. A young Tuji can only scream his friend's name in terror, as their instructor stands over the defeated Hayate, delivering a brutal lesson. He explains that unnecessary emotions only cloud their judgment, and that a true assassin needs only the will to correct the world and the coldness to do it. He walks away, leaving the two boys broken on the floor. Hayate can only grit his teeth, his small world shattered. As Tuji holds their dying friend, his own heart breaking, a memory of the man who was ordered to end him. But in the present, Tuji unleashes a furious counterattack, a blow that sends his old friend flying back in shock. Hayate unleashes a desperate volley of gunfire, but he can't believe what he's seeing. Tuji moves with impossible speed despite his wounds. Hayate realizes this power must be connected to Yuzuha, but he presses the attack, refusing to accept it. Tuji feels the pain from his wounds suddenly vanish. His mind is clear, his senses seeing everything. Guess that golden glow came with some serious perks. He can finally grasp his old friend's impossible movements, and he weaves through the storm of bullets with ease. His grip tightens on his knife, his resolve absolute. And with that newfound power, he lands a devastating blow. The blade finds its mark, leaving Hayate completely stunned. The assassin is sent flying back down the hallway. He can't believe the tables have turned so completely. The two former friends are locked in a storm of gunfire. Tuji's eyes lock onto the gun Yuzuha dropped, and he now wields two weapons ready to end this. Guess he's a dual-wielding pro now. Hayate can only scream his name as Tuji opens fire. He warns his old friend to stand down or he'll be forced to end him, but Hayate just screams back, daring him to take the shot. Hayate screams that he lived his life believing in Odin's fate, a fate they were supposed to share together. He roars that he thought they would correct the world as a team. Tuji can only listen, the weight of their past crashing down. But he looks up, his eyes burning with a new, unwavering resolve. The two former friends charge, their final battle now at hand. But Tuji's movements are faster, his focus absolute. Hayate screams his name, declaring that he has, but Tuji slips past the shot with impossible speed. Nothing left as his old friend's blade finds its mark, except to end his old friend's life. But Hayate grits his teeth, his will unbroken. Tuji's eyes glow, his focus absolute. The two former friends clash in a final, desperate blur, and Tuji lands a devastating blow, his fist glowing with power. The impact sends a shockwave through Hayate's body. Guess that golden power-up came with a serious punch. He stands over his defeated friend, the battle finally won. Hayate can't understand why, after all this, Tuji still hesitates to kill him. He explains he can no longer live as a lance or as his friend. And with his last breath of defiance, he begs Tuji to end his life. Tuji looks down, his golden eyes filled with a new understanding. His resolve hardens, his decision finally made. But his mind flashes to Hayate's apartment and to a very familiar dog. He sees his old friend not as a killer, but as a caretaker. He remembers the gun Hayate held at his new parents' home, and in that moment he understands the truth. He knew Hayate was the one looking after John. Because when he saw the dog was alive, he realized Hayate had spared him. He knows the Hayate he grew up with would never let another dog die after what happened to Leo. Hayate looks down, his fight completely gone. And Tuji asks the one question that has haunted him since that day. He needs to know if Hayate was the one who took Mirai's life. But even with the truth hanging in the air, Kaito's parents are safe at home, wondering about the strange boy who visited. His mother speculates that Hayate might be John's original owner. Guess the cover story was pretty convincing. She admits that despite her suspicions, the dog was clearly happy to see him. And she remembers the look in Hayate's eyes as he watched the dog play. A look that was both kind and incredibly lonely. A brief glimpse of the man behind the assassin's mask. Kaito's father hopes the kind young man will visit again. As he brushes John, completely unaware of the chaos elsewhere. Back in the hospital, Tuji stands over his defeated friend and asks him for the truth about the night Mirai died. He knows if Hayate truly wanted him dead, he would have aimed for the head. He asks if his old friend knew about the plan all along. A flashback confirms Hayate knew Dr. Kuji would save Tuji's brain. Hayate just smirks, asking what good the truth will do him now. But Tuji's resolve is absolute, his eyes still glowing. He demands to hear it in Hayate's own words, the real story, a memory of their shared past, of the bond they once had. He explains that the one ordered to kill Tuji was him. He can only stare back, the truth finally spilling out. He admits that he received the order from Odin to kill his best friend. But he hesitated, and as for Mirai, she was already gone by the time he arrived on the scene. A revelation that changes everything Tuji thought he knew. His mind reels, trying to process this impossible truth. And Hayate admits that while Odin's will should be absolute, something is wrong. Hayate finally breaks, admitting Tuji was the one person he couldn't kill. He explains that just before the mission, he was approached by Dr. Kuji with a plan. A plan to fake Tuji's death and save his brain, which Hayate agreed to. He only made it look like he'd completed the mission, hoping his old friend could finally find a better life. But fate had other plans, bringing Tuji back as his enemy. Tuji looks down, understanding his old friend's pain. He admits he can't kill Hayate either, before leaping from the building, because now he's fighting to protect the people he cares about. A revelation that leaves Hayate stunned, as he realizes something crucial about Yuzuha. Akatsuki calls out to Tuji, relieved to see him still standing. Tuji asks if he's okay, but Akatsuki confirms that Raoul is also alive. and that Argos reinforcements have finally arrived, surrounding the entire hospital. The defeated Hayate can only watch, knowing this is his complete failure. He reaches for his gun, deciding to end things on his own terms. But Tuji's eyes suddenly glow, his power flaring to life. He looks up, his body going rigid as Akatsuki calls out his name. A strange new sensation washes over him, a feeling they all share, a premonition that something is coming. Elsewhere, the sniper Iwashimizu reports that another lance has been defeated. The sniper reports that despite Gungnir's injuries, Hayate was still defeated. He concludes the only explanation is a sudden awakening. High above, a new figure thanks him for the report. He steps from his transport, declaring the seed has finally sprouted, and with a cold stare, he vows to harvest it himself. The man steps into the open air, floating high above the city, and plummets towards the hospital below. He clenches his fist, which glows with a terrifying purple energy. His eyes burn with that same overwhelming power, and his fist smashes through the hospital's defenses with a single blow. The newcomer crashes through the ceiling, his arrival shattering the brief moment of peace. Tuji screams a desperate warning to Akatsuki. The Lord Spear turns, his eyes wide with alarm. He throws a punch, his fist glowing with explosive energy. But the newcomer blocks it with ease, sending Akatsuki flying. He looks down at the defeated Hayate, who is reaching for his gun, and Hayate pulls the trigger, aiming right at the new threat. A single shot rings out with a flash of red, but the bullet wasn't for the newcomer, it was for himself. Hayate can only scream, his arm now gone. The newcomer stands over the defeated Hayate, accusing him of betrayal. Tuji's eyes widen in shock, recognizing the man instantly. Yashima. It's Lance number 1, the leader of the 12 God Spears, Bryanak. Akatsuki realizes he's here to purge them all for their failures. But Hayate knows the truth. His target isn't them, or even Tuji. Yashima looks down at the defeated assassin, his expression unreadable. He confirms Hayate's suspicion with a chilling smile. He then turns to Tuji, revealing that the girl in his arms is the treasure that will overturn the world order, Fenrir's seed itself. Tuji looks down at Yuzuha, the impossible truth finally revealed. His mind flashes with memories of Kaido's life, of the girl he's come to know. He looks down at her, his mind unable to process the impossible truth. Yashima declares he's here to reclaim the treasure that has finally awakened. And he addresses our boy by his true name, Tuji. Tuji screams for an explanation, demanding to know what he means. The Lance leader explains that Tuji must have felt her power firsthand, a power that directly interferes with the brain. He reveals that Fenrir's seed is a specific genetic factor, and that Yuzuha's father, Akagi, was purged for stealing it, a crime he committed over a decade ago at the Avalon facility. Yashima explains that Akagi cultivated that stolen seed and brought it into the world as his own daughter. Tuji's mind shatters, realizing what this means, that Yuzuha was a being created by that very research. Akatsuki clenches his fist, demanding to know why this was kept secret. He asks what Odin truly plans to do with Yuzuha, but Yashima says there's no need to tell a traitor who's about to die. He notes the Argos forces are making a commotion downstairs, and vows to dispose of them all before retrieving his prize. He moves in a blur, striking Akatsuki down with a single devastating blow. Yashima grabs Akatsuki by the throat, who can't believe his speed. He throws the Lord Spear aside like he's nothing, but Tuji moves in, catching his falling ally. He realizes with horror the danger they're in. Yashima stands over them, his fist clenched, and he unleashes a single devastating punch. The impact rips through the entire hospital building. Down below, Reika feels the tremor, screaming for her team to get out. The floor is completely gone, with Yashima floating in the crater. Tuji finally understands this is the power of the top lance, the leader of the 12 God Spears, Bryanak. Tuji knows he can't possibly fight him while protecting Yuzuha, not without the golden power that has now completely faded. He's trapped with no way out, but a voice tells him to take the girl and run. He turns to see Hayate and Akatsuki standing as a final line of defense. Akatsuki screams for him to go, reminding him of his promise to protect her. Tuji can only grit his teeth, his heart tearing in two. He turns to run, leaving his former enemies to face the monster. But Yashima roars, vowing that no one will escape him. Akatsuki roars, putting everything he has into one last attack. His fist connects, a desperate, explosive blow. The impact sends the lance leader flying across the room. Hayate sees his opening, aiming a final shot at the monster. But Yashima catches his wrist with impossible speed. He holds the assassin in place, completely unfazed. But his eyes catch a familiar, glowing device on the floor. Akatsuki grins through the pain, taunting that the trap isn't for him, and the cube erupts in a massive, fiery explosion. The two former enemies stand together, hoping the blast was enough. But through the smoke, Yashima emerges, noting the cleverness of the trap. He stands completely unfazed, admitting the firepower was lacking. Akatsuki can only curse, realizing a normal human would be finished. He turns to Hayate with a final, desperate plan. Hayate agrees that even Yashima can't withstand a direct hit, but Akatsuki tells him not to throw blindly and that he'll create the opening. A plan that leaves Hayate completely confused. Akatsuki tells him to run and regroup with Tuji the moment the bombs go off, but he sees the look in Hayate's eyes, a horrified realization dawning. As Hayate roars, ready to make his final stand, Hayate unleashes a desperate volley of gunfire. But Yashima just scoffs, calling his attack too slow. Akatsuki screams his name, his own plan now in motion. He leaps into the air, vowing that Hayate will survive this. Yashima calls the move naive, a foolish attempt to blow himself up. He reaches up, ready to neutralize the falling explosives. But his eyes narrow, realizing something is wrong, because Hayate's presence has completely vanished. The Lance Leader's eyes widen in shock. As Hayate appears behind him, using his no-self swift speed, Hayate offers a bloody grin, his final thoughts turning to Tuji. He remembers their shared past, glad he could never bring himself to end it. As Akatsuki screams for his new ally to live, he gives the final command to Hayate and unleashes a devastating, self-sacrificing blast. A memory of a simpler time flashes through Tuji's mind. As he watches the inferno consume his allies, he can only scream Hayate's name, his escape cut short. The entire floor erupts in a massive, fiery explosion,